FM at HD Boston. 98.5, the Sports Hub. Beasley Media Group station. Essential Sports Hub headline presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Both the Bruins and Celtics had last night off, but both will be back at work this evening in separate countries. The Bruins have the home game. They'll try to snap a 3-game losing streak when they face Toronto. Things have not gone well for Joe Sacco's team recently, but they're still only 1 point out of a playoff spot.
We haven't been in this position for a little while, and these are meaningful games, and we're just trying to use them as a stepping stone to get to the next part of the season here.
Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. As for the Celtics, they're in Toronto tonight in the opener of a back-to-back on the road. Drew Holiday and Luke Cornett are out. Al Horford is questionable. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 6:30 and the tip-off at 7 over on 105.7 WROR. The Celtics have won 5 straight. The annual NFL Scouting Combine is getting underway in Indianapolis this week. The Patriots coaching staff and front office are already there. New head coach Mike Vrabel is scheduled to speak to the media at 10:15 this morning. Former Patriots offensive coordinator Alex Van Pelt has been hired by the Rams as their new senior offensive assistant. And the Red Sox and Yankees were rained out yesterday in Fort Myers. The game will not be made up. The Sox preseason rolls along today in Northport, Florida against the Atlanta Braves. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by Safety Insurance, providing comprehensive coverage for your auto, home, and business. Ask your independent agent about safety. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 6:30.
Boston plays here.
I was getting my back shaved last night,
Oh, sweet.
and I was looking in the side of the mirror, and I was like, you see women when they get ready, and I will tell you everything that I have to say in a minute, but you see women, they get ready, and like even before they go to bed, they'll do these, they have to take off their makeup and everything, but then they'll do these like elaborate like hair things, like there's just a lot there, like, and then they'll do their hair in the morning, like there's like all this stuff. If you had to say how many minutes a day you're looking into a mirror, because maybe I'm in the minority, how many minutes a day would you say you're looking into a mirror?
Less than 2 minutes.
Okay,
No.
That's good. Okay, go.
You brush your teeth.
Yeah.
But are you looking in the mirror when you brush the teeth? Like I'm talking about like looking in the mirror and like looking at yourself.
Oh.
Like, no.
Less than a minute.
No, but you could be doing something. Like you could be shaving like counts. Like, right, if you shave every day. But like looking you don't look in the mirror when you brush your teeth, I take it. Like you brush your teeth for like a minute, right?
No,
You're not looking in the mirror the whole time.
I don't have a lot of hair. It's not something
Yeah,
that needs combing.
Yeah, my
and
hair doesn't need any.
Shave every other day for me.
Yeah, I don't shave every day either. And so I'll do the top above my beard, but it's like after seeing, I'm wondering if I need to be looking in the mirror more, looking at myself more. I don't even know what I look like. Maybe I need to start looking into it, poking around, seeing what's going on.
Seeing what's what.
Because if I wanted to, like, I would not get rid of my chest hair, but I could trim that up pretty nice. But that's a whole process.
You're a very hirsute gentleman, right?
Yeah. If I let it go for a long time, yeah, I'm a hirsute.
You need to trim on both sides, is what you're saying.
Well, the back I always do.
Yeah.
The back is not socially appropriate, but I think the front. In fact,
It is fascinating, though. It wasn't all that long ago. Like, in our lifetimes, you could have back hair, shoulder hair.
Yeah.
You could have all this stuff, and it was not only okay, but it was featured on Men Who Were Sexy.
and we've talked about the Albert Brooks phenomenon.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so
Modern Romance.
Modern Romance, where he's got that going. I will say this, and in my experience, it is true. Maybe women wouldn't look at a picture of a guy with hair on his chest, but women don't. Women deep down, even if they think it's gross in a picture, women like chest hair. Because there becomes a point where they become enamored with chest hair, and they start, because it's very masculine. It's a masculine thing, and that was always my theory on chest hair.
If you were with a man, would you want him to have chest hair?
Yes, because it goes along the same things as what's feminine, like breasts and curves and like you like a little bit of like softness, like you want a woman to be a woman, you know? And so with men, it's a very masculine thing. If a woman wants someone who's very masculine,
You're talking about the Cartesian woman.
Oh. Cartesian woman. Yeah. They like the wiggles attached to it.
Thank you, Terrence. Yes.
that was his breakdown of Cartesian women and how that is indeed what men want. That was when he told it, but straight lines don't exist, if you understand.
Straight lines. Curved dots that make it up.
What lucky person had him as a guest that day?
Someone who put him on for 3 hours, and it's funny in these little clips already made. It's very funny.
Man.
But not for 3 hours.
Wake up. Oh. That's my friend. But I had a different name for it. It was my hand.
He remembers his own birth, you see.
That's the thing
Yes.
with interview podcasts, because podcasts can be really good if they're done in a narrative way. Jesus Christ, this woman that does these one time at podcasts. I mean, she did one on Tracy Lords. She found the guy she lost her virginity to, interviewed him. The guy she dated in high school, interviewed him. Like, because there's a lot to this story. It's like a very interesting story that like really transcends porn. It's not really even about porn at a certain point. But she, so like, and it takes her like 3 years to make them. Like, they're really good. Interview podcasts, there's no way. There's no way. What I know about radio and how you have to move and change as every break and like get moving and keep things moving forward. And, you know, I mean, how often we don't sit here and like take calls and take comments and interview someone. No one is listening to a 3-hour interview. Not many people are listening to an hour-long interview. Just interviews aren't overly exciting. They're not. And there's no way. There's no way that a guy who's a professor of geometry or, you know, whatever, advanced mathematics at Stanford University sits down with a mediocre comedian and they talk for 2.5 hours and the world falls in love. Now, I believe that you can put a clip on YouTube or on Instagram that's 30 seconds long and that 1 million people and 2 million people, 3 million people will watch it. That I can understand, however that algorithm puts up. But there's no way. If you did a 3-hour interview with anyone on the radio, it's an immediate tune-out. I don't care who it is. Like, Howard Stern still can be good. Like, when it's him talking about his parents or something, like, he's really, really good. You know, I think he doesn't – I think he would tell you he doesn't care as much anymore. I mean – he plays the guitar on the air now. It's quite fascinating because I didn't get Howard Stern for 30 years. So, like, I just was able to hear him again. And sometimes I'm like, whoa. But if he has – I don't care who he's interviewing. I don't care who it is. I'm out after 2 minutes.
It's never, from what I see, and I listen to Howard Stern sporadically too, but it's not just one thing. They sit him on the couch and it's an hour. It's not that. He has other things going on with that person to kind of break it up.
Well,
No, not anymore.
Oh, that's changed?
And look, I'm not opposed to like a really good 20-minute interview, but generally those start with the important stuff because you don't think you're going to have somebody for that long. So you start talking about the stuff that you want to know about. When you know that you've got somebody coming in like, you know, whether it's on Joe Rogan or Howard Stern or anyone else with this unlimited amount of time, then they really, really settle in. And the first 10 minutes is just how you do. No, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
And there's this video going around of Tom Green who really kind of did invent this stuff. Like, Tom Green is the guy who, like, was the first celebrity to get online and start doing stuff online, like, live. So you got to give him credit. But it's Joe Rogan on Tom Green, and Joe Rogan's going, well, the great thing is about this is there's no corporate pressure. There's no corporate pressure. That's great because corporations they're married to advertisers, and and there's FCC rules and things of that nature. But the idea, you know what the radio stations are slaves to? Ratings. What you're saying is you don't like that things have to be entertaining all the time or you're not going to get ratings. Like sitting down and BSing with the same group of comedians, every other week for 4 hours would never get you ratings on the radio. That's what I'm skeptical of. Like the podcasts that are put together and that are narrative stories with like these like amazing. And by the way, in these podcasts, as Hardy can attest, when they do an interview, what's the longest clip of the interview they'll play at a time? Like 30 seconds to a minute
at the most.
But I mean, it's fascinating. They got these people, but there's a narrative to it. And these people get sprinkled in. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you talk to that person? Like, this is amazing. Like, this is like, how'd you find all these people? And it's not, if you went on the radio and every day you said, we're doing a 4-hour interview, we're not playing commercials, or we're doing 2-hour interviews and we're not playing commercials, you would not get a 0.1. You'd be Bloomberg Radio. You would get nothing. It would be nothing.
How is Bloomberg Radio doing?
They don't care. It's not. Beasley doesn't care. It's not Beasley's station. They just rent the space out to him. So I'm sure Beasley doesn't care what Bloomberg Radio is doing. But even to get an audience to sit down and listen, and that to be monitored as the time that they're supposed to be listening, and all that stuff, and them hanging through, you have to keep things moving. And I'm just telling you, I know. I've been doing this for 25, 27 years. I'm not Opie. I'm telling you, though, that I know about having to get ratings. I've not gotten them, and I've gotten them. If we sat down every day and I said, Jonathan Haidt, who is interesting, is a professor at such and such university. He specializes in like what's going on with kids and how they're being overcoddled now. And we sat down and we talked to him for 2 breaks. Disaster. You're better off doing what I'm doing now and just talking than you are doing that. There's no way. And there is
I don't know how Dan Ray does it.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And you mean to tell me like guys that never finished middle school are sitting out there listening to, guys talking about advanced physics and their theories on of higher power how the solar system leads to infinity and if there's a God?
I don't have any evidence of this, but it seems like they can see. It seems reasonable to think that they could track the people who actually download it, but they can't track who actually, listens to it once you subscribe to a podcast and it shows up on your phone. Yeah, but did you actually listen to the whole thing? Oh, you got 100 million downloads. Okay. How many of those people actually heard it and heard that thing that took place that is sitting there on their phone? That's a different story. Fred, before we get away from it, though, have you logged on to YouTube yet this morning?
No.
A lot of positive feedback about the new photo. Nick touched it up once again just to make sure that it looks right, and that is to your liking. But we are getting new photos, but just the new version that people see when they pop up on YouTube.com and go to 98.5 The Sports Hub and watch Toucher and Hardy.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a real love affair. I'm not looking at it.
No, you should. You should look.
No,
not the comments.
Oh, the photo?
Just the photo.
Oh, did he screw with it?
Oh.
All right, let me look at the photo.
All right.
Barnes in the basement.
Okay.
985.
What?
Man pit.
Alex
Excuse me,
Barth?
man
What?
pit.
Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, that's funny.
Do yourself a favor. Go ahead.
That's better than the old one.
Show on YouTube.
At least that's obvious that I keep it like that. I like that better than I like the old one. At least that's an obvious joke.
Hello.
Hello, I've just finished pleasing these gentlemen. Now, if you would, please take a picture. So, yeah, that's fine with me. All right. We will, we'll be back. And when we come back, we can, by the way, we're brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We're at Town Fair Tire Studios, 617-779-0985. And you can watch us on YouTube. where finally they put me at my proper size, which is to Hardy's elbow and John's belt buckle. That's where I deserve to be, like a real rat. And so that is up there now, and you can talk the night away. There's 253 of you. I'm sure it's a whole situation in there.
253. That's more than usual at this hour.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I got 322 on mine.
Yeah.
Everybody's logging on to see the picture.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good. That's great. All right. Very good. And I honestly do not care what you say on YouTube. I swear to God, I do not care. You're watching, listening, and interacting with the show, and that is how I make money. I don't know who you are, and I don't care at all what you have to say. So go in there and flame away. It exists in something, in an ether I don't see. You're not doing anything like you all think that you, not all of you, but there's some of you that think, I think you have this like superpower over me or us. You don't have, go do whatever you want. If it's, the company sees that you're on there, that's all that matters. You can do whatever the hell you want on there. The company sees you're on there, that's all they care about. Tell 1,000 of your friends, because I'm sure you have them, to get on there too, and you can all just sit there and speculate about how ugly I am for 4 hours a day. I don't care. It's all the same to the company. All right, look. What's coming up in last night?
We got some basketball to get to in the NBA. We also have Brad Marchand speaking again, and that'll take care of us for a few minutes.
All right, we will be back in just a moment.
rules in that. You can't meet and talk, and you can't get around the new coaches and sort of hey, this is what we're going to do, and start looking at film and talking about scheme and all that. The problem is that this is the tone that was set by guys like Godshaw, Tavai, hey, you got done dirty. Those are your defensive leaders, right, by age. They're the veterans. He's still a young guy, year 2. And if he honestly thinks that, then that's what he thinks.
Duluck and Bertrand, weekday mornings at 10 on the Sports Hub.
Hey, listen, if you've got to go, we understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Toucher and Hardy.
That's what I want on my tombstone.
On the Sports Hub.
Did you catch a game last night?
Toucher and Hardy. What is going on in the world of sports? I apologize. I was telling you guys I had yogurt late before I went to bed, and I am old. And when that happens, it is I'm burping like basically throw up at this point.
What kind of yogurt? Do you go Greek? You do?
It's always Greek.
Dannon fruit on the bottom.
It's always Greek because I gotta get my 190 grams of protein a day.
190.
193 if we're going by weight. You gram of protein per body weight.
Oh.
Big leg day on Sunday, hack squats, the whole 9.
Right.
I mean, I got 245 plates on that hack squats machine. I mean, just one on each side.
Sure.
And I'm really getting after it. Now a young lady comes in after me. She doubles it up. It's
right.
all right. But we can work. She can work in. As long as she takes the weight off that she put on. But it was a rest day yesterday.
Right.
And then I realized, oh, Jesus, I'm like 20 grams of protein behind.
Right.
And I'm going up to bed. I'm like, I got to jam this down my throat.
Did you say today is back, shoulders, biceps? What is today?
Well, today's interesting because I'm going to the Bruins game tonight.
Oh.
And so that is going to require some dog maneuvering. It's going to be, and plus, I got to get my daughter from school, and then she's got an activity. I mean, there's a
running
lot
around, and you may not have time to eat correctly today.
Oh, I'll have time to eat correctly, John. What an ignorant statement that is. There's no reason not to eat correctly. I mean,
really stuck your
think,
foot in your beak.
I might not have time to get a full workout in the gym. This might just be like plyometrics, stuff like that. All right, get to the
Well,
sport.
thank God for that.
This is
I mean,
sports.
you can tell I'm huge, dude.
This is all sports. Brad Marchand, once again, being asked about and trying to come up with an answer to the whole
Only 11 more days of this for him.
question of, the whole trading thing. All right, now what?
Even in your best years, guys get moved or things happen. You have no control over things like that, and you really just can't get caught up worrying about it. The biggest thing we've always, every team, I'm sure every team talks about is you got to worry about what you can control and just try to stay in the moment.
And I guess also be thinking about what the team might be doing that's best for the team, and Marchand is mindful of that too.
The team's always going to do what they feel is best and for the group and the best way they can improve the team. That's completely out of our control. So you just can't worry about that.
But one thing that we talked about yesterday, Fred, is the notion that if they did decide to trade him, they could always bring him back. And what about this? What about the contract that they're working on now? Fine, work on your contract. Work on a contract that actually isn't necessarily for continuing to play for the team this season. He did mention his contract, but he mentioned something else that throws a bit of a wrench into the works.
We're obviously in talks. I feel like I understand where I'm at personally, but again, that's going to stay between us.
Do you have a no trade on your contract?
Limited. I think it's maybe 18 or something like that. I think.
Yeah. So there's always a handful of teams that I think every single player in the league would say absolutely not. If they have the ability to put that in their contract, there's some places where these guys absolutely do not want to go. But
we know what it is. Winnipeg, Buffalo.
Yeah.
Winnipeg and Buffalo are the top two every year.
Yeah.
That's probably the two big ones. But maybe because Winnipeg's far away from where he's a trailer park boy guy. Halifax. Go ahead.
But we're going to talk with Fluto later, and he was the first person to talk about the idea. I think seriously from someone who is like a serious hockey person about the idea of Marchand being traded. But as unlikely as that may seem, there's someone else whose name gets mentioned a bit, and that would be Trent Frederick. Here's an exchange with Trent.
I actually don't know what I haven't
said. Everything's on the table.
Okay.
Not specifically with you, with the whole team.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have to make sure go watch that.
So that was Sweeney who said everything was on the table, and he said, "What do you think about that, Trent?" He said everything's on the table.
I actually don't know what I haven't
said. Everything's on the table.
Okay.
Not specifically with you, with the whole team.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have to make sure go watch that.
So I'm getting traded, eh?
Yeah.
I don't know that you are, Trent, but if you're talking about
Trent Frederick is getting traded.
Yes.
He will get traded. If I'm a team, I'm not offering anything, and I'm just waiting it out until a minute before the trade deadline ends, because they have to move Trent Frederick.
Yeah, 27-year-old forward who's going to want to bump and pay.
Well, they're not re-signing him.
No,
they're not making the playoffs, so you need to trade him.
Yes, $2.3 million this season. Relatively cheap player for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and he's big, and he could conceivably be a fourth liner, maybe even in a pinch a third liner for a good team. So he's moving. And if you look at the list of like potential trade deadline acquisitions, he's up there in like the top 5.
He and Marchand are both they're the only Bruins representatives. If you take a look, and
but
TSN
Frederick's
Canada
up there.
has their list, and Marchand and Frederick have always been in the top 20 of most desirable players to move at the deadline. And they shift up and down. Marchand, I think, was 6th last I saw, and Frederick was 10th. But I guess the point is, those are the two most movable pieces that you have, according to the national people. There's nobody else. No one lists Carlo at all. And I would think the Bruins would solicit offers on him.
I would think that you would do that too, but I do think they're hesitant to move pieces that are under contract.
Well, you have 3 guys, McAvoy, Lindholm, and Zadorov, who are tied down here long term. But another 5 years.
No, but I think that Sweeney doesn't want to give away pieces he thinks can help them win next year. I do. I don't think they're in a total break. They're not breaking it all down yet. They maybe should, but I don't think they are. I'd almost be happy if they did, but it doesn't sound like from anything that I've heard about Sweeney or that he's saying that he has any intention of doing that.
But again, this is not good business. Good business is understanding where your roster is, understanding where your team's going to be in the next year or two, and getting this team, the core is gone. You need to start turning the boat around and heading in a new direction. And doing that doesn't have Brandon Carlo here, specifically because you have McAvoy, Lindholm, and Zadorov all tied down. You're probably not trading the top 2, and I don't think anyone wants Zadorov. So you have to figure out a way to get future pieces in here, draft picks, younger players, and Carlo's a way to do that, as is Marchand, by the way. So your job as a general manager is to get the future here as quickly as possible, and you can't do that by holding on to Marchand and Carlo.
No, I agree. I think that you could expedite the turnaround, and you would be better sooner if you would move Marchand and Carlo. Yes, and I think that it's nice that Marchand obviously wants to stay, and but I don't think it's cutthroat to trade him, because it's not like you're throwing him under the bus. You're asking him to go play for a contender for 3 months. There's worse things in the world than that. I know that Krejci and Bergeron stayed here their whole careers, but
the window was different with those guys.
And by the way, Marchand could get a longer contract probably with another team, because I bet you Marchand, they go year to year with him, like they did with Bergeron and Krejci, that they'll go to year. So, I mean, there's a lot. If he wanted to leave Boston, he could make more money probably and get a longer-term deal.
Well, yeah, because you're going to have multiple teams bidding for him if he gets to be a free agent.
And by the way, if you're also Marchand, wouldn't you want the 3-year deal? Because there's a very good chance you're going to get banged up. To his credit, he's 36 years old. He's having like 3 surgeries every offseason.
Yeah, he just had 3 last summer.
Yeah, so I mean, I mean, if the wheels come off, wouldn't you like that insurance that you're going to get paid?
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Multiple teams are going to be in on you, which means you'll have, and he is a very valuable piece for any contending team. Just not on this one.
Yeah. Let's switch over to the NBA for a moment, where there was a matchup last night between the Oklahoma City Thunder. They were home to take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. OKC getting it done early.
Top of the key to Shea, off the stutter step on Clark, kicks out right wing to Jay Will for a three-point hoist. That's nothing but net. Cha-ching, another Thunder money ball. 11 threes and 23 tries.
Mm-hmm.
Another Thunder money ball. Brought to you by Rocket Money.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were up, Oklahoma City at home, up 64-45 at the half. They extended their lead through three quarters, 102-80 after three quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this is a very good team you're playing, but Oklahoma City, real good.
Oklahoma City tied with Cleveland, I think, entering last night for the best record in the league.
Taking full advantage.
They're at home, by the way,
advantage.
at Oklahoma City.
102-80. Minnesota claws their way back from a 25-point deficit. And Wallach, I believe Oklahoma City was still up 16 with 4 minutes left?
They were up 121-105 with 3:45 left in regulation. At home. Best record in the West by far. They're 8 games up on Denver. There's no one close to them in the West. They've been an elite team all year long. And Anthony Edwards went out with a calf injury with 3:45 to go, and his team is down 16.
Unbelievable. Minnesota continues to claw their way back. They force overtime.
SGA now with it against Nikhil. They run Nas at him in a double. SGA runs away from that. Attacks down the lane. Rises up. His shot blocked by Anthony Edwards. It's loose in the corner. TJ Shannon's got it. And a whistle. And a timeout is called by Minnesota. Anthony Edwards just saved the day.
Came back in, playing on a leg and a half.
Potential go-ahead shot blocked.
Looking to get it, and it comes to SGA. He's got it up by midcourt against Anthony Edwards. He'll stop. He'll pop. He'll fire on the three. It's off the iron. No. Rebound tapped out. The horn will sound. The ball game is over. The Wolves have done it. They've rallied from 25 down in the third quarter to tie the biggest comeback in franchise history.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yes.
From franchise history.
131-128,
Wow.
the overtime win for the visiting Minnesota Timberwolves against Oklahoma City.
Outscored Oklahoma City 41-19 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that fourth quarter number, 41-19.
You know who didn't come back last night? If we're just kicking around scores from out of town games,
this was kind of a standout.
No. What I'm saying is I'm not being sarcastic. Is that the 76ers were down 50 and they ended up kind of cutting that lead to 32.
Yeah, they lost 142-110. Joel Embiid.
Good for them.
Yeah,
they're showing some heart.
Well,
yeah. They were down 50 and then they came back and they got that within 32.
Yeah. By the way,
against the Bulls, who are very good.
Paul George and Tyrese Maxey both played last night, and they lost by 32.
I don't get. We talked to Max about it last week, but I don't get how Paul George is just doing this. That it means so little to him. That you would think that competitiveness would take over at least when you're on the court. Like I gave you the example. I think it was last week where he had 2 points and he played like 38 minutes. He's just floating and not trying, and it's a little interesting.
You see it happen in spurts. The game between the Celtics and Sixers coming out of the All-Star break, if you watched it, the first quarter and a half, George was on fire, and then he disappeared. And it wasn't just the Celtics defense, which is great. But, yes, that's exactly what's happening. He looks around. He sees what's going on. He sees it in,
but you're playing a basketball game. There was a time in Paul George's life that if he was at a pickup game as a pro in the off season, if he was at some school or some gym where other pros were practicing and they did a pickup game, he was trying.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were there to be. Even at his size and his skill level, like to be a great NBA player, you have to have like a really high competitive streak.
Yes, that was the Indiana Pacer, Oklahoma City, Paul George, many, many years ago.
But I just don't understand that. I can understand like not working out in the off season, not, kind of like going out at night during the season. But once you're on the court, no matter what your age, you would think that you would have some sort of competitiveness that would just naturally kick in, like pride that would naturally kick in, and you would at least even. I'm not even talking about playing the NBA is such a joke, but I'm not even talking about playing defense because that's too much to ask. I'm talking about like offensively, like wanting to score. That would be something that would interest you. You're already out there. There's a crowd and people are watching on TV. Wouldn't you have some sort of personal pride that you would want at least to score?
It's not even the pride thing so much, Fred, is and you touched on it with the players, and to be a great NBA player, you need to have this. I think it's almost a pettiness, and you need to take things personally.
Yeah, I agree.
You need to be like really offended when things don't go your way or someone thinks they're equal to you on the court. And I don't think there's a handful of players right now who have it, and Paul George might be one of them.
Specifically, if you read Philadelphia, the people covering the Sixers, they think, well, A, he's working with a hand injury, B, he's 34 with a lot of miles on him. I'm not saying this is the truth, and this gets him out of what we're talking about, but these are the excuses that are being floated.
Well, then he
at this
shouldn't
point.
be playing. Then he shouldn't be playing. If he has the inability to play basketball, he shouldn't be playing. And he really does have the inability to play basketball right now. If it's because he's injured, then he's doing great damage to himself.
Yeah, his scoring is down from, I think he's scoring less now than he has in the last decade.
Well, this year he's averaging
16 points a game.
Yeah, it's 16 points a game.
Yeah, this is the lowest it's been since 2012.
Yeah, I mean, he had 19 last night when they were down 50. But so 19, 15, 17, 2, and 14. And that's a team, by the way, without Embiid on the floor.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Embiid is undergoing tests on the knee, which keeps swelling up on him. I personally think he's done for the season. He's
why
certainly
would he
playing
not
that way?
Why would he not be? Why would they continue to play him? There's no reason.
You have this guy. You have Paul George.
They're real quick. Their pick is top 6 protected.
Yes.
So they need to have a top 6
You
pick.
know what their record is right now? They have the 6th worst record in the NBA.
Yeah, they need to take care of that post haste. They need to start getting. They need to start. I mean, they're losing as much as they can.
By the way, Oklahoma City has the pick, even though they need more of them. But yes, Oklahoma City has the Sixers pick.
Yes,
if it's 7 or higher.
Right. Okay. There you go.
Good.
So
let the West keep beating up on each other, though. That's fine.
What happened last night is brought to you by Leonard Hair Transplant Associates, where your hair doesn't have to be a game of what happened. So change your lettuce and change your life with Dr. Matthew Lopresti at 1-800-GET-HAIR. Here are the headlines.
What's that thing we do at the end of the show?
And end your day.
I'm not giving you an opinion. I don't know.
Right here. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Is elongating?
Weekday mornings.
Here goes Hardy.
Toucher and Hardy.
I no longer love things.
Let's go. Let's ride.
98.5.
Like, let's roll the dice.
Using the arches, positioned carefully.
There's this thing that's obviously not true, to my knowledge, that is going around the internet of Trump, very aggressively sucking Elon Musk's feet.
I've seen this. Yes.
And
it was hacked and put on a video screen at the Health and Human Services.
I don't believe that. I don't think. I don't
office or
believe that
something
happened. That seems to me like that didn't happen. I don't think that happened.
You think it was a deep fake?
No, I just think that someone crudely put it on a screen on their computer and then said that it was put on the Health and Human Services building.
I don't know. The footage
Someone
I
sent
saw
me that.
looked at it was, you know, we have like the TV screen in the kitchen.
Yeah,
like it was one of those where it was.
No,
like
I
in a
saw
public
that.
place.
I
Yeah.
saw what the people said. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe someone hacked into the Health and Human Services building and put that up there. I think that the video is the AI thing is funny, but I don't think that I don't believe that it was hacked into the Health and Human. It's a funny notion, but I don't think it happened. So 2 people sent that to me, and I looked at it, and I'm like, I don't think that really happened.
Okay, so multiple newspapers have reported it.
Okay.
So including
Papers of record or the Huffington Post?
the failing New York Times.
The failing New York Times.
But it was fake video of Trump and Musk
Eye
appears
roll.
on TVs at housing agency.
Oh, well, I take that back, Adam.
Monitors
You're right.
at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, so not Health and Human Services. Briefly displayed a fake video showing Trump sucking. This is from the New York Times. Sucking the toes of Elon Musk, according to department employees and others familiar with what transpired.
I wonder what the line was to get into a stall after that. Excuse me, I have to go poo. I'll be bringing my lotion with me. That's a real worship video.
There has been another rule change proposal. An NFL team wants to ban the tush push. Anonymous team. It says, we should do away with that. This is according to Troy Vincent, who told reporters yesterday at the Combine that NFL owners could vote on the proposal next month. If the proposal goes to vote, it needs 24 or 32 owners to vote in favor of it to pass. But he said there is the proposal out there anyway to ban the tush push.
Ryan brought up an interesting point in here. We were talking about that story, and he had said the original report was from The Athletic that named the team. They said it's the Green Bay Packers that were the unnamed, but the ESPN wouldn't name the team. Even after The Athletic had named the team, ESPN still reported it as an unnamed team.
Why?
As to not burn their source, I don't know.
To piss off Green Bay. Green Bay's going to get upset that they were named. Why does it matter?
Because you look
like a
petty.
sissy.
Yeah, you look petty. But it is funny because there's not a lot going on to hear people. There had this montage when I was coming in of people screaming and yelling about how, and they're like, this is cowardly. This is cowardly to ask them to do this. It's like, okay, all right, very good. It's so cowardly. Okay. It's such an unmanly thing to go that this is boring and that we don't like it. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, big deal. They want to get rid of the stupid. First of all, they should get rid of it because they say tush in it. And that is owned by Seymour Butts and ZZ Top. And anyone else, they should have trademarked tush. Because I think most of Seymour Butts' movies had tushy in it. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the ZZ Top song Tush. So that's the only reason it should be banned is because
different women that cycled through there. I think Alicia got a little old at one point.
Oh, he had his starlets. He was not afraid to play favorites.
Tush.
Thank you, Robert.
Butt cheeks.
Okay. All right. More from the Combine. If you want to read up on the Combine, go to 985thesportshub.com and Alex Barth has 8 things to watch for if you will, in fact, be watching the Combine. I'll be watching every second of it.
Yeah, we were having that conversation in the other room, is that, it's great that Alex is doing this. And Alex is actually going to be at the Combine, so that's great. And so we'll have him on as a guest. But I don't think people are watching enough of the Combine to go, this is what I'm going to be keeping an eye on. I think that it's something that if you happen to be home while it's on or it's being replayed, that you put on.
If you're a Patriots fan, and because they have such a high pick, you pay attention to specific things. You don't just put it on and leave it on. But, for instance, Abdul Carter, who was...
It's not working out.
That's the thing. If he was defensive lineman or first, so he would have worked out on Thursday. You would have flipped it on and go, oh, okay. He runs a 4.47. He's as fast as advertised.
Right.
That's all. But no, it's not, okay, 3 hours, we're locked in.
Right.
Let's hope we catch this guy. Oh, they're running now. Let's see.
And it's impossible to know who's doing what, by the way. It moves very quickly, and because it's so long and boring, they're not doing play-by-play of the Combine if you've watched it. They're doing interviews while the Combine's going on. They're talking about other matters. They're not going, now up is this.
Right.
Like, you're kind of up to your own devices, and they don't have names on the back of their jerseys. I'm like, we watched that. I mean, I take it you had the same experience as me when you watched the Senior Bowl workouts.
Yes.
You have no idea who the hell's doing anything.
Let me see the helmet.
Well, they had helmets on, but I didn't even know who some of the team's helmets were. Some of the team's helmets, I didn't even know what they were.
Right.
They're from like weird, the big. What is it like? The
Bowling Green. You got weird
Bowling
stuff.
Green. You got teams that are out in Idaho. Like you got all these like weird Big Sky teams. Like the whole thing.
Did you see the stat? What percentage of people at the Combine are from the Big Ten and the SEC?
Okay, I did see it, and it's
Fred,
astounding.
You didn't see it.
So take a guess.
Percentage of all the people at the Combine this week from the Big Ten and the SEC.
Big Ten and SEC, the percentage of people at the Combine, 80.
No, it's 56%.
56%.
No.
I thought it was 80.
Over half, which is remarkable.
Well, I mean, look at the SEC and the Big Ten now are what? 45 schools.
I was going to say it's not as remarkable as it would have been seeing how the Big Ten now has 20 schools.
20?
I think there's 20 schools in the Big Ten.
Well, the geography of it matters because you have Rutgers, and then you have USC, and you have USC.
Yeah.
So the geography
and
of it matters.
UCLA too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Stanford and Cal are in the ACC, where they belong.
Right.
Right.
That big Stanford-Syracuse matchup every year.
I mean, it's funny in basketball. I don't know how much you guys watch basketball, but when these Big Ten teams have to go out west and the Western teams have to go out to the Big Ten teams, it's like a huge, huge disadvantage. I watch a lot of Michigan State basketball, and they went out to USC and they got run. Like, you can't – I think they lost both games on the West Coast. Like, it's too hard. I mean, it's too hard for these kids. It's too much travel. It's not great. Football, it's fine, but the other sports, boy, oh boy, that's a hell of a road trip to ask college kids to go take.
BC at Stanford in baseball, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, what percentage of BC's games do they play in Florida?
A lot
for football, for baseball. I mean, even Babson's in Kentucky, and then they go to Florida.
A lot.
All right, look, we will be back. We have an update, which all you've been waiting for. Hardy's buddy from Puerto Rico. He had texted him. We'll give you an update on all of that. As the show ended yesterday, he had not been texted back. We can explain it to you if you don't know what we're talking about, but it's very interesting. We'll have that for you in just a moment.
Toucher and Hardy, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
You've heard a lot about how treating low testosterone can improve your sleep, your workouts, your energy levels, and more, but let's talk about your sex drive, because low testosterone can...
energy drinks.
Bruins will try to avoid a fourth straight loss tonight when they play first-place Toronto at TD Garden. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The NHL trade deadline is a week from Friday, and Brad Marchand's name has been prominently mentioned.
In your best years, guys get moved or things happen. You have no control over things like that, and you really just can't get caught up worrying about it. The biggest thing we've always, every team, I'm sure every team talks about is you got to worry about what you can control and just try to stay in the moment.
The Bruins will begin play 1 point out of a playoff spot. As for the Celtics, they'll play as well up in Toronto against the Raptors. The Green are looking for win number 6 in a row. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 6:30 and the tip-off at 7 over on 105.7 WROR. Drew Holiday and Luke Cornett are out of this one. Al Horford is questionable on the front end of this back-to-back. The Celtics visit red-hot Detroit tomorrow evening. The NFL Scouting Combine is in its early stages in Indianapolis. The Patriots contingent is present and accounted for. Mike Vrabel will speak to the media at 10:15 this morning. The team's offensive coordinator last season, Alex Van Pelt, was hired by the Rams yesterday as their new senior offensive assistant. And the Red Sox and Yankees were rained out yesterday in Fort Myers. The game won't be made up. Sox preseason continues today about an hour north of Fort Myers in North Point, Florida, against the Atlanta Braves. Sports Hub headlines are proudly brought to you by the DeMoore McKim School of Business at Northeastern University. You'll do more than just keep pace with the future, you'll define it. Connect with them at an admissions event at northeastern.edu/business events. I'm John Wallach of Boston Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 7:30.
You want to talk sports? We want to talk sports.
Squeeze the chicken and open the mouth.
It's like we were meant for each other.
This is why you need us.
98.5 The Sports Hub. Fred, what's it like to work with Hardy and Wallach?
What a golden ticket I've gotten.
There you have it. Toucher and Hardy resumes on the Sports Hub.
Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. You can watch us on YouTube and find out what's ever going on over there. There is a live conversation, everything else. You can watch shows live. There's clips of all the shows. Subscribe to 98.5 The Sports Hub if you would. Yesterday, Hardy was all riled up. He had a game and everything else that was set up for the people. And it was about a trip he took to Puerto Rico and how there was a man by Dan.
Name of the musical instrument, just like a tchotchke, just a little bauble, a little something to remember. But kids got stickers of the coqui frog, that coqui.
What
That's the sound that it makes.
What episode of Seinfeld did they not play in syndication anymore? Do you know what episode of they?
No. Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Yeah, because why? There's a burning. Kramer by accident catches a Puerto Rican, or one of them catches a Puerto Rican flag on fire. It's actually not that bad.
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's not like they're burning it out of protest. It happens by accident. But that apparently, after 15, 20 years of reruns, became too much for people.
Yes.
But so you have something that's a bit of a keepsake.
Yes, I've got the pin. I've got the flag. The kids got the stickers. We also got a little passport book, Puerto Rican pass. Fred, it's not a real passport. What it is just a book full of reminders of reasons to go back to Puerto Rico and things that you should do when you're there. And that was one of the many parting gifts that Daniel brought to us on that day.
Yeah, you had a lot of fun. And so Hardy, when he would text Daniel would get back to him sometimes in under a minute, sometimes in 5 minutes. So yesterday at the end of the break, I said to him, why don't you text Daniel? And what did you text Daniel yesterday about 8:20 in the morning?
Hey, Daniel, back to work this morning and telling my coworkers what an awesome trip we had, largely thanks to you Exclamation point. Hope you're doing well, and thanks again for everything. Hook up with him again. Utilize his services.
Yeah, but you might not go back for several years.
Don't say that, Fred.
No, but do you plan on going back next year?
I don't know, but don't say several years. I want it to be sooner.
It was a magical time. He's not waiting that
Because,
long.
I mean, you're assuming that Daniel's still going to be driving the Uber when you come back there.
That's a good
I mean,
point.
Hardy did hand him a crisp, clean $100 bill
He may
at
he
the
may
airport
have,
before the embrace.
I thought about doing the $100 bill, but I thought, you know what? You can't spend those everywhere. I'm going to do 520s instead.
Okay. You should have just given him 100 singles to really give him a big wad of cash and just made it rain over his head.
35 minutes. The show ended. Still no reply from Daniel, much to Fred's delight.
No, it wasn't my delight. I mean, it made it way more uncomfortable that you sent that text the longer it took him. Ideally, he never would have gotten back to you.
Let me put it to you this way. Would you have been more pleased had I gotten a reply, or were you more pleased that I didn't get a reply?
Well, I know how uncomfortable it was for you to send that text to him, so I thought it was funnier for everybody that he wasn't getting back to you.
Your feelings. Did it please you?
No, yeah. I mean, me included,
Yes.
but me and everybody. I'm not hiding behind a group of people. I just think in theory, second of all, for many reasons, John said he texted you right back, which John is never right about anything, and so he did that, and then I said he would never get back to you. But here we are. It's, what is it, 23 hours later has he gotten back to you?
Well, you were both wrong. Not only did Daniel text me back, it wasn't within 5 minutes, John, as you and I both thought.
I was hoping for you.
It wasn't never, Fred, as you were probably hoping for secretly.
Oh yeah, I was hoping for that.
Instead, yesterday at I thought it was 10:50. No, it ended up being 10:20 a.m. As
we were still here.
We were sitting in our post-show meeting when I got this reply from Daniel. 10:20 a.m. Hey, Rob, glad to hear that, really. 2 exclamation points. I'm really happy for you guys. Hope to see you again with 3 N's. I'm
Appreciate it, man. What you up to today? Can you do that? Do you have the internal? Is it intestinal?
Testicular fortitude.
The testicular. That's better. Testicular fortitude to go. That's awesome. So glad to hear. What are you up to today?
That's brilliant.
I know you don't want to, but it would be funny. You don't have to. I won't look down on you if you don't do it.
Yeah.
But it would be pretty funny if you just wrote, "That's awesome to hear. So glad you're doing well. What are you up to today?" Because this kind of leads into our what we have planned today. Because he sent you something with kind of a period on it. Right?
He thought that was the end of the conversation. He's like, okay, you texted me. I texted you. The week is over. The back and forth is over. We're done.
Our relationship is finished.
It's finished.
With the praying hands, thank you.
Right.
Right. And he was nice to do that.
Yes.
He's saying, because he what are the chances of you coming back? That was actually nice of him. Because that wasn't a cold-hearted business decision. That was him being a good person. This guy obviously went out of his way to talk, to see how I'm doing. It probably was weird when he first got it, and then he was like, you know what?
But you can kind of see it. There's a world in which you can kind of see the follow-up, oh, I had a great time. Thank you very much for this the day after. Now you send this one.
Now this is making
pushes
friends.
it into the wildly
Well, now this is
uncomfortable.
making friends. But it does say this about Daniel, and I'm being serious, that Daniel's actually a nice guy.
Yes.
Because if it was, because I just assumed this was just someone who would just be like, yeah, dude, get out of here. I just was nice to you and you gave me money and now it's over. That's my experience with prostitutes. But I have friends who tell me that there's a lot of GFEs where they do get back to you, but I don't know about that. But girlfriend experience. So if
I understood.
Thank you.
I've seen Cat
I know,
House.
John.
I understand.
Yeah, you've been with a lot of prostitutes.
Yeah, sure.
So, but if you did, now we could see if there is a friendship there. It would have to be something that's awesome, man. You don't have to say miss you because then it's almost like you're screwing with them.
You're right.
But if you went, because Daniel's like a nice guy. I don't want you screwing with him, but it would be kind of funny if you were like, "Oh, awesome! Thanks for getting back to me. What are you up to today?"
Yeah.
This is one of those times where you want to be watching the show on YouTube.
Look, I like having people in my life, right? I like having not just friends, but golf buddies and people that I can call on, and knowing that they can call on me too, right?
Yeah.
Not just locally, but globally, John.
Sure.
You know? Oh, I got a guy in Vegas.
PW that plows your street.
No. Seriously, don't just. Who's a guy that you talk to that's like, you bring them up all the time. Like, you don't have mutual friends with. You got their number. It's kind of odd that you have their number. There's a million of them. I know it's like Spotify. You can't think of a song you want to hear because there's so many of them.
I have multiple, landscape people that have.
But do you text like personal messages?
Oh, sometimes, sure.
All right, fine. So say you were doing that, and one of you has to do the first personal message.
Yeah.
And then the other guy responds.
Yeah.
What would be your normal course of action in that kind of relationship? Like, what would be your move now? You reached out, the guy got back to you. What would be your move now? How long would you wait? What would you do? You're not going to ask him to do something. That would be outrageous.
Okay, and I think you know this about me already. I think of these people as like minor celebrities in my life.
Yes.
Because I hold them in such esteem.
As Daniel.
As Daniel does. So I treat it like how I used to treat Twitter when that mattered to me. When I would tweet something about a band that I liked, like Lyle Lovett would reply to like one of my tweets.
That happened?
Or he's liked a few of my tweets, and I do nothing afterward. I acknowledge them without, calling out, because a lot of people acknowledge them. But once they acknowledge back, then you let it be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because if you were pursuing a relationship with like a woman and you reached out and then they got back to you, I mean, if you could do a couple things. You could like wait a while and then get back to them. I would tend not to do that. I would just be like, oh, hey, cool. I mean, I wouldn't do it the second I saw it, but I'd be like, I would try to create a rapport with the person. So it's not out of the realm of possibility if this is going to be a friend. I mean, you let a day go by before getting back to him.
See, this bit me in the ass recently with a certain municipal worker who and I didn't even know he had my phone number. But he texted me, and I texted him back, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm embarrassed, I don't know who this is. And when I saw who it was, I was like, oh. And then I did like one too many, and there was like a long time getting the text back, and I felt embarrassed about it. I'm like, I pushed it too far.
How about this? Hey, great. Glad to hear you're doing well. Hey, how about this? Thinking about coming back soon. Maybe you'd be up for a round of golf.
Wait, no golf was discussed. I know where your head is at, but I wouldn't do that. I would do something else.
All right. Okay.
Let me.
How about this? Awesome. Awesome. Glad to hear things are good. Thinking about coming back. When I do, we'll have to grab some lunch, or have to grab dinner.
Not bad. I don't want to risk pushing Daniel away. I really don't.
Well, I mean, if Daniel, sometimes if Daniel's going to be that guy to you, you're going to have to at one point put your heart on the line.
I know, and I do feel compelled to stay in some kind of touch with him. I don't want 2 years to go by and be like, hey, remember me? And like, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, even clearly, if you let like a month go by, he might even find someone else that that he's got this kind of relationship with you.
You understand? This is my new drug. This is what I used to do with drug dealers back in the day. Even when I didn't want drugs, I would check in with them occasionally just to make sure I was still,
on a list.
On a list of
top
people,
of mind, right?
Yeah, to talk to.
All right. Well, it's up to you, Hardy. I mean, you could see. It's not out of the realm of possibility when you text someone and they text you back to text them back again.
I understand. I'm just not ready.
Okay.
Don't let it go
You
too
said
far.
you said 23 hours, which would give me until 9:20 a.m.
No, I said it's been 23 hours.
But it hasn't been.
It's been 22 hours, Fred.
Since he texted him.
But it's the return text.
All right,
is
it's
when
been
it starts.
23 hours since you texted him. Now, it's been exactly 23 hours since you texted him. That's a healthy amount of time to let go. For all you know, Daniel's wondering why you didn't text him back.
Oh no, don't say that.
I mean, that's a possibility. He could be like, dude, I put it out there. Like, why aren't you not texting me back?
Oh no, don't say that.
All right, I'm going to leave you alone. During the break, you let your conscience be your guide.
Okay.
I won't tell you what to text. You figure out if you want to text, and if you do, you text them. Don't do it via speech, at least in front of us. And whenever you want to reveal it, you can reveal if and what you texted him. How about that? That lets
Fair.
you off the hook a
Fair.
little bit. That's fair.
Fair.
You let time, let you sit on it. It's not my relationship. I'm not here to blow up anyone's spot. Believe me. I'm your wingman on this one. All right, Fluto, look, because I have no interest in Daniel. I'm just here to help you, buddy.
No. Wait till you go to Puerto Rico. You're going to have all kinds of interest in
I'm your
Daniel.
Cyrano de Bergerac. I'm in the wood. I'm in the bushes telling you what to
Good
say.
reference.
Well, I know. I really pulled that one.
Yes.
What an incredible.
Just because we all watched the movie Roxanne with Steve Martin, let's
I
not make
forgot
us
about
out
the
to be
movie.
like literary geniuses.
No, I
here.
assure you, I've never read any of the
I
work.
played Cyrano de Bergerac in high school,
Jesus.
Fred.
Very good.
Send it to
Fluto
me, please.
Shinzawa will be joining us. Perhaps he's been to Puerto Rico and he's met Daniel. But no, there's a lot going on with the Bruins, and he's been pretty clear about what he thinks should happen, and he's been even more clear since the Lindholm and McAvoy injuries. We'll talk to him in just a moment.
Stay tuned for
would, but I never had it yet.
No, you said you didn't want to hear more music in the morning. Okay. Here's more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
You know, even in your best years, you know, guys get moved or things happen. You have no control over things like that, and you really just can't get.
Is that us or is that my headphones?
Now that was a little blip on the pot. Don't worry about it. It's been fixed.
Well, I am worried about it. It's going to bother me all day now. Hi, we're Toucher and Hardy. Fluto Shinzawa is our friend. He's a senior NFL writer for The Athletic. He covers the Boston Bruins. You've heard us talk to him before. He's great. Fluto, hello.
Hi, good morning, Fred.
Hey, good morning. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for doing the show today. I've been reading you as always, and here we are. The Bruins are where they are. Lindholm's not coming back this season. Let's start with what you know about McAvoy, because you're the person that I've been reading the most about. So what's your understanding of the McAvoy situation and when the Bruins got involved and how miffed they are at Team USA?
Well, let's start with Charlie's back home, but he's out for weeks. So is he out for the season? Probably not, but there's no rush to get him back. Just in terms of where the team is without Lindholm, the situation, this guy has to be 100% healthy, right? He's one of your three most important players, and you got to get him right. But he's on the mend. Everything is good in that sense. And then let's go back in the terms of the timeline. He gets injured February 13th in U.S.'s game against Finland. We think it's from the cross check that he took from behind. He goes into the net. Okay, he hurts his shoulder. He's not feeling great after the game. And then that's where it gets a little fuzzy. What kind of treatment did he receive from Team USA staff then? What did he say? I'm sure, knowing Charlie and knowing 100% of these athletes, they all raise their hands and say, do whatever it takes to put me in that US-Canada game. So what was that? Who knows what the actual treatment was? And we don't know. Hey, we all remember that hit that he dropped McDavid with. There were a couple other ones. He dropped Sid. He has another one on McDavid. I'm sure that didn't help when you have a shoulder injury. So did it make it worse? I don't know. But after that, starts feeling worse after that, and then comes back to Boston, and then that's where the diagnosis happens. That's where they say, whoa, this is getting a little bit out of hand in terms of the infection. That's the most dangerous thing. And then the team doctors for the Bruins take over. So yeah, there was dissatisfaction at the time. I'm sure that has waned given the time and the fact that Canada won when you're looking at it from Don Sweeney's perspective. But yeah, they were not satisfied, but they've turned the page. Don was quite clear about not reopening that issue when he spoke on Sunday. So yeah, let's rest up, Charlie, is the message from the Bruins.
Okay, so just one more thing about the tournament, because it was such a huge success, but there's been debate on this show about this, not so much within the show, but with some outside people. Look, the Four Nations was a huge success, right? They've already said they're going to do a World Cup every other year and the Olympics every other year. But guys did get injured in this tournament. And so I'm going to ask you from your perspective, if I'm an owner of a team and one of my players gets hurt playing in this tournament, is the upside, specifically the Four Nations, is the upside of that push of those couple games and the ratings of those couple games worth me losing a player that might cost me playoff gate in like a round of the playoffs?
Yes, that's just the reality, right? It's hockey. It's violent. It's rough. Guys get hurt all the time. Charlie's not the only one coming out of there with bumps and bruises. You got to deal with it. That's the reality. Of course, no owner would be happy. They send off their star player for a couple weeks and comes back and can't play, and who knows, out for the playoffs, costs millions of dollars. Coach gets fired, GM gets fired. Tough. That's the reality. You have to think of the bigger picture when you're looking at it from an owner's perspective, and these are millionaires and billionaires. I'm sure they're good at looking at big picture issues such as overall league revenue and television ratings and trying to attract new people into the sport and making it more of a global event. So yeah, That's reality.
Do you think they should have an event like this every year, or do you think they should stick to the every other year format?
I agree with you every other year. It's a big ask. Whatever appearance fee that these players got, it's chump change. It's not enough given how much they invested. So and it's not taking advantage of them, but like in one way it is, in terms of, okay, you want to represent your country and do this, play against the best. Well, here you are. Here's your money. Like, who's going to say no to that in terms of, oh, no, I'm not going to go until you pay me more. So there's that. And it's like we all saw how intense and violent and fast it is. That burns matches for every player. Especially like, look at some of your older guys. How long does it take a older player to recover from that kind of ask versus your 22-year-old? Probably a little bit longer. And every 2 years, that's a good cycle.
Yeah, I think so too, and the players certainly want to do it. But you mentioned older players, Fluto. One of the older players who got to experience victory was Brad Marchand, and we were kind of thrown around back and forth a little bit yesterday. Would this in any way compel Marchand to consider playing elsewhere because he got to experience winning at a high level again? And while I don't believe he wants to be traded, most Bruins fans don't want him to be traded, and we don't think he will be. But is there anything in playing in a tournament like that and getting to play with other people and having that experience that might give Marchand or any other player the notion that, you know what, that wasn't so bad after all? To join up with a group of guys and actually have a chance to win something at the end of it, kind of forgot how good that feels. I wonder if Marchand's feeling any of that.
It's the same question I asked Brad yesterday at practice, and he did not equate it to the Cup run of 2011 or any of the other Cup runs. He said it's a totally different animal. It was 2 weeks, totally different thing. So he did not feel as if that was a kind of preview in terms of a potential Cup run elsewhere. But I did ask him, does that give you any kind of temptation to say, if there is a team that has a legitimate, more competitive shot at the Cup, would you raise your hand and say, I'd be interested in that opportunity? And his answer was, he doesn't really see a slam dunk leader in the pack around the league in terms of being an overwhelming Cup favorite. He still thinks, like, if these guys get in, like, they have a shot. And I don't know if I agree with him, but that's what he believes. And he is so invested in that being a Bruin for life since 2006, being drafted and following Patrice out the door in terms of being from soup to nuts, a Bruin, and that is important to him. So how important will it be in terms of the contract negotiations that are taking place? We'll see. But at this point, there's still less than 2 weeks to go before the trade deadline. He does not feel, Brad, that, okay, I want out in terms of chasing a Cup, because he doesn't see, like, he doesn't consider Winnipeg, for example. I think Winnipeg's been probably the best, if not one top two team. He doesn't see them as being, okay, I got to go there to maximize my chance to win. He still likes it here.
Is it the right thing to do for the Bruins to trade Brad Marchand business-wise?
It's a really tough call, just because you still need the player, right? In terms of the production, still your second leading scorer. You don't have anybody being a number one or number two left wing next year. There's the presence. It's just a giant presence in the room. The only guy from 2011. Are David and Charlie ready to take that next step for leadership? Probably not. So, but the question is, when does the decline happen? Is it next year? Maybe not. Is it in 2 years? Maybe. And if it's a 2-year deal, well, you're just going to have to deal with that issue then. And you have to think of the possible return. Let's say, okay, if you're the Bruins, okay, let's see what's out there. I don't know that the return is going to be that high. The return that somebody said, maybe a second round pick, maybe a young player. Like, I don't know if Brad's going to get you back a first round pick at this point. So is that worth in terms of accelerating what you're trying to rebuild here versus the void? That's a very, very hard question. I think they're going to attack that for a long time before March 7th.
Could you conceivably trade Marchand and then sign him next year?
You could. Yep, certainly. Thing is, we don't see that happen very often, right? Like, when's the last time that happened? It just is not a regular occurrence. Who knows how Brad would feel about that? He has some control, but it's only partial. It's a partial no trade protection that he has. So let's say, okay, they don't come to an agreement on a deal. They move him somewhere where he's like, I don't know, like, how does he feel about that? Like, is that enough of a bridge burn that he doesn't consider coming back? Who knows? So it just doesn't happen very often. Is the one wrinkle in that scenario?
Yeah, it's just interesting that isn't more of a possibility, right? Like, because I don't know how cutthroat it is. Just because I put myself in both people's shoes. I put myself in the Bruins' shoes, and I'm like, all right, we could get something for him short term, like, for 3 months. He's gone.
Send Brad a chance to win one more cup because he's probably not going to win one in a Bruins uniform.
And, give him a chance to play, meaningful hockey but whatever. But I'm doing it selfishly too. And then from Brad Marchand's perspective, I know he loves being here. I know he's tight with the community. His family's here. You're just leaving for 3 months and then coming back. The idea of him playing even 3 months for another franchise, I guess that's something that I can't really relate to as being that big a deal, but it is to him.
From the player's perspective, it is. Right. Yes.
Okay.
He wants that A to Z continuity of being a Bruin for life. And to go back on the point, like, he doesn't see, like, maybe if there's, like, for example, Winnipeg, or let's look at the Bruins from a couple of years ago, clear-cut favorite. Maybe in that situation, he'd say, okay, get me to a team like that where my chances of winning the cup are significantly better than the rest of the running. Then maybe he would be interested. He doesn't see it that way right now.
Even like Toronto, that wouldn't be fun for him, like, to play in like the Mecca and with all that attention, and he's from Halifax and all that.
Not considering the circumstances of wanting to be a lifelong Bruin.
All right, well, that's very interesting, Fluto, and it's great stuff as always. We love Fluto Shinzawa. Does an excellent job as the senior NHL writer covering the Bruins for The Athletic. Fluto, always appreciate it, man. A great job as always.
Okay, guys, my pleasure.
Thanks,
Fluto. There you go. Well, there you have it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you have a guy who really, really doesn't want to leave and you think that you want him on this team in the future, then you can't trade him. So it's interesting that it means that much to him, which I guess is a positive for his character, that he wants to be in one place for this length of time. But I could easily see going, all right, man, I'll go play for this team for, Is that a unique hockey thing too? One organization? Because certainly it's not a basketball thing.
Baseball, again, we've been lucky. Red Sox have had guys that are legends that have stayed here played here their entire careers. But not basketball. I mean, Pierce was traded, Garnett was traded.
Well, no, basketball, no.
No.
So that's just over.
No.
Football,
Hockey, no.
football, no. But hockey must be something like that.
Yeah,
because Krejci and Bergeron and then Marchand all want to play their whole careers here.
Bobby Orr wound up playing somewhere else at the end.
Bork ended up playing somewhere else at the end.
Somewhere else at the end.
I mean, in football. It's not one organization either. Ronnie Lott played at 15 places. Emmett Smith played places. Yeah. Jerry Rice played places.
Wayne Gretzky got traded how many times?
Yeah, but Wayne Gretzky was like that was a epic, earth-shattering kind of situation.
He went to L.A. and then he went to the Rangers, and at the end,
this is more of a unique thing to hockey, is my point, than it is to other sports. I think. I mean, Juan Soto's playing for his third team, and I think he's 26. So 26 or 28. He might be.
He's 26.
He's with his third organization, and he's going to end up being a top 20 all-time player.
The number of occurrences between baseball and hockey, I don't, that they might be similar, but I think they are similar in that those are the only two sports where you would, care to say something like that, and it would be like a badge of honor. Like, it's not necessarily a badge of honor in the NBA or in the NFL.
Well, the NFL is so cutthroat.
Yeah.
And in the NBA, the players run the league, so to the detriment of the league.
Let's
so,
meet up here. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So they don't care. They don't care about who they're playing
No,
with.
the
It's a
NBA
big
is off the
problem,
table.
actually.
The NBA's off the table.
So it's for
regardless of
opposite
what the
reasons.
leagues
The
are. Yeah.
players don't care in the NBA, and the teams don't care in the NFL. Look at Stafford. I mean, they almost made the NFC Championship game. They were a play away from the NFC Championship game, and they're letting Stafford – they don't want to pay him, so they're letting him go see if someone else will. That tells you all you need to know about that.
It's funny we were talking – like just running in my head, like Celtics players, like the last, like important player to play their whole career here. And I thought for an instant, Pierce, I'm like, oh no, he went to Brooklyn, went to 3 teams
afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the Wizards were in there too.
I think it was the Clippers.
Clippers at the end.
Yeah.
Clippers at the very end.
All right, we got a break. We'll be right back.
is Boston's home for sports.
Bow, bow, bow!
98.5, the Sports Hub. Half toucher.
Dressed like a gorilla.
Half Hardy.
A big, beautiful ball of flame.
And a whole lot of Boston sports.
And I have had many offers to become an insider.
Free Karen Reid supporters gathering to protest against a motion filed by state prosecutors that calls for new restrictions at trial. Demonstrations would have to be back 500 feet from the courthouse, and people would not be allowed to wear any attire that suggests a favorable or unfavorable opinion of either party. That includes animals like dogs and this bird wearing a sweater.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy, and we are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. A big goings-on in the Karen Reid trial. Hardy is in Canton. He knows people in Canton. Your thoughts?
I have none. Thank you.
You're saying that the people in Canton, you're a little
You
over
know,
it?
listen to me. You know my policy in this. I will say nothing. You understand me? Nothing.
Moving on to the weather.
It is interesting to me that this Karen Reid trial is still being talked about, in that there's like a million murder trials going on at all the time, and she's not famous. And it's not like something that's like completely out of the ordinary. I don't know why people still are particularly focused on this one. You know, every time someone dies unnecessarily, it's terrible. But you can't focus on everyone who dies unnecessarily, or else you wouldn't have time to. The idea that this captivated the audience, it's not like she's anything special. It's just odd to me. Like this whole thing went crazy. The only thing to me that was funny was when the guy read the texts that were like about her butt and everything.
Which scared me away from texting for like 2 days. I didn't text anything other than yes, no, or ignore.
Yeah.
I'm like, you go through any one of our texts with somebody that you're close to, and the things that you say that are wildly inappropriate.
Well, I mean, I've had someone print out all my texts and hand it to management. I mean, I've had it happen.
Yeah.
Big old stack of them. Why don't you get over it? Why don't you get over it? Oh, I don't know. That horrible invasion of my privacy. In fairness, though, they were ignored. So anyway, but this is an honest question. I knew you weren't going to talk about it. It's funny. That's kind of the funny thing about it. But is it still like a big deal in Canton?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Well,
as big a deal as it was.
Okay, so and I've said this before, so forgive me if you've heard me say it, but the story that gets thrown around a lot is how, you know, it's a town divided, and how, you know, it's turned neighbor against neighbor. And it sounds like fluff that goes on the news that doesn't really, you know, equate to real life. It is completely accurate. There are people who have, you know, had lifelong relationships or, you know, years-long friendships that don't speak to each other anymore, that, you know, are completely on like one side or the other of this thing. And just because there's been a lull in the proceedings, and, you know, the first trial ended in the, you know, the deadlock jury, and the second trial hasn't started yet, those relationships that have been affected by it, those have not been mended.
Oh.
So, yes, it is still an ongoing thing.
Interesting.
Well,
people standing on street corners holding
No,
signs?
you don't see that so much anymore, but there are people now that you know who are firmly like on one side or the other, and there are, you know, other people that you know, it doesn't affect our circle that much because we've only lived there for like 7 years or something like that. But the people that we're friends with who, we know that if we're going to like a gathering or something, other people won't be there and vice versa because they're on opposite sides of this thing.
Okay.
And you have to be aware of that when you're getting people together.
Well, in happier news, have you texted Daniel?
I've made a decision on that, Fred.
Okay, would you like to share that?
Sure.
What's your decision on Daniel?
I am not going to be, would like your services that week, something like that.
It could be years.
So you're not yet. So you don't want to be friends with him.
I do want to be friends with him, and you're asking me to guess the next time I'll reach out. That is my best guess. But
that's no friend. That's just that's a business referral. I mean, that's not a friend. That's just referring someone as a business associate. It'd be like giving someone the number of your cleaning lady or something. Like, that's not your friend.
You're not friends with the people who clean your house?
Well, I know she just had a kid, and she showed me beautiful videos of her baby, and it was very cute. I have a relationship with my cleaning lady. Yeah,
What's the kid's name?
I'm not going to say on the air because that's an invasion of her privacy.
It's what's that name?
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't know the name.
I will not be texting.
I know her
Daniel
name
again this morning.
I know her name. I write a check. She's coming today. All right. Well, that's a shame. It's a shame that relationship is gone. That there's really no friendship there. But someone who knows all about stringing people along for money, apparently, is or knows when people don't quit. Is probably a better way to put it. Is a friend of ours who will be joining us to talk about that very subject in just a moment.
Weeks.
It'll be Boston against Toronto in two different places tonight as the local pro teams get back to their schedule. The Bruins entertain the Maple Leafs at TD Garden. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. The big story right now for this team is the trade deadline, which is a week from Friday, and the captain, Brad Marchand, may be the team's most valuable asset to trade. He told the media yesterday, though, he's talking to the team about an extension.
We're obviously in talks. I feel like I understand where I'm at personally, but again, that's going to stay between us.
Do you have a no trade in your contract?
Limited. I think it's maybe 18 or something like that, I think.
Bruins begin play 1 point behind Ottawa for the final wild card spot in the East. The Celtics, meanwhile, visit the Raptors this evening. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 6:30 and the tip-off at 7 on 105.7 WROR. Drew Holiday and Luke Cornett are out. Al Horford is questionable. In football news, the NFL scouting combine is in its early stages at Indianapolis. The Patriots contingent already there. Mike Vrabel will speak to the media this morning. Executive VP of Player Personnel Elliott Wolf will talk tomorrow. The team's offensive coordinator last season, Alex Van Pelt, has been hired by the Rams as their new senior offensive assistant. And the Red Sox and the Yankees rained out yesterday in Fort Myers. That game won't be made up. The Sox preseason continues today in Northport, Florida, against the Atlanta Braves. Sports Hub headlines are powered by Oakers Technologies. This offseason, let's revamp our roster and let's revamp your technology and IT systems with Oakers. Oakers, a local team with the scale to be your single-source IT partner. Visit okers.com. I'm John Wallach of Boston Hill for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 8:30.
Get the app.
There's the potential there for big stuff.
98.5 The Sports Hub app. Get the app.
What's the best way to listen to Toucher and Hardy?
Well, you're going to have to spend $40.
Cough it up, and let's get back to Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
So the beat came in, but it's very long. But we've been playing this for 15 minutes. There you go. Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. By the way, Billy Jaffe texted us and he said, pretty sure the last time a player got traded at the deadline and then re-signed with his team with Keith Kachuk when St. Louis traded to Atlanta and he went back to St. Louis in 2007. At least that's what I can recall, because we were talking about Marchand possibly being traded and then signing back here. But maybe if he did, the thing Fluto brought up is that if Marchand gets traded, and that might be enough where he doesn't want to re-sign with the team. So it's not like just a matter of like getting a contract done, trading him, and then bringing him back. That could like create a separation that could not be resolved. So thank you, Billy, for doing that. Billy, of course, from the Morning Brew podcast in Nesson and the NHL Network.
How you spell that, brew?
BRU, just like you would think it.
Check the logo.
Bruh.
Good logo.
Morning, bruh.
He doesn't like the one thing Billy doesn't like is making fun of that logo.
Not happy with the logo,
No.
or us making fun of the logo.
I'm not making fun.
No, I make fun of it.
He does.
I heard you do it once. It did not go well.
No,
he does not like it. I don't know if someone like he loves designed it.
It's not often you can get Billy like angry. He was leaning in that direction when that was brought up.
Well, yeah, he hates it. Yeah, he hates it. Like he's got a lot invested in this thing, and I plug it, and I don't understand why he doesn't understand. I'm plugging it. Like, who cares if the logo sucks? Like, I'm plugging your podcast. That's what's the important thing. In fact, that would get it to stick in
More
people's
people
minds.
would, yes.
And I'm not saying the podcast isn't good. That would piss me off if I was promoting a podcast and someone said the podcast sucks.
Billy puts a lot of work into that too. It's
Yeah.
every
Right.
after every game. It's overnight. He records
Exactly.
it.
So it's not like I'm saying what he does is bad. I just said the logo's bad, which could be changed. I don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand why people get upset. That's all. When I get upset, that's valid. When other people get upset at me,
the whole hype
a lot
thing,
of times that's not valid.
Right.
You understand? I'm the arbiter.
All right.
Just like on the freeway, I know how fast to go.
Yeah.
You're going faster than me, too fast.
Toucher, height thing, okay. Billy, logo, not good.
Well, have you heard about the controversy of the show photo? Have you heard about this? Kendra's here. She's going to do her spot today. Kendra Middleton, brought to you by DraftKings. Do you know what the controversy over the photo?
I have seen people talking about it online, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, so the photo of the show is terrible. But like when they were taking pictures of the show, it was a new show, and who cared?
I know the photo, like your show photo, obviously.
Yeah, it's awful. And so like
You don't like it?
No, I hated it. And so it's an awful photo. But here's the deal: is that I didn't really care about the photo. I might have even like okayed it, like whatever, because there was like a new show and there was a lot going on. So, whatever. As time moved on, I'm like, let's change the photo. Like it's not a good photo. Let's change it. But then last week I had someone go, how tall are your co-hosts? And I went, why? And she or he goes, you are only up to their shoulders in the photo because I'm on a stool. And then I looked at it and I'm like, it's not inherently understood that I'm not standing in that photo. So I thought, at least let me be tall. I got enough against me. Can I at least be tall? It's maybe the only thing I have going for me physically is my height. Can I at least have that, please?
So then Nick put this photo up. You see this? Nick put this
We're
photo
taking
up
new ones on Thursday. I'm making everyone
How
do it.
tall are you?
6'2".
Okay.
But 6'2".
Is that with or without shoes?
Without shoes.
Okay.
Yeah, so whatever, who cares? But like, look, I got enough going bad for me. Just let me be 6'2", okay?
Okay.
At least don't make people think that I'm 5'1". They like a little person. Cuz now I'm a troll at that point. I'm not even a handsome little person. I'm a troll. But anyway. So, you've been debriefed. Hardy's got this big relationship with this fella. He came back all hot and bothered.
Okay, yeah. Let me explain let me explain my relationship, okay? Kendra, you do a lot of traveling.
You look very tan, I will say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And I talked to you about the trip my family and I went on to Puerto Rico.
Yep, because I told you about the coquille.
Yep. Oh.
I've been listening to you play it. It's so cute.
Yeah, that's right. Do you like the song, too?
I do. I've liked your sounds of the coquille. They've been very cute. This is like, I need that for an Instagram reel.
I think you're right.
By the way, that's off the White Album that was unreleased. That came out when they went over archival footage.
Is that a real song?
Yeah, it's called the coquille song.
Okay, I'm going to put that to a video of my shrimp on Instagram because it's really cute.
Oh, my goodness, Kendra. Now you've broken the
Well,
internet.
thank God. Thank God we got that solved.
Well,
It's
Kendra, you can leave now. I mean, get to work. I can't deprive people
Thanks
of
for
this any
coming
longer.
This is the easiest payday ever.
Thought Beasley was dealing with internet problems last week. Boy, you're about to shut down the entire company's network with that. So the first night we're there, we get an Uber out to our luminescent kayaking tour.
I heard this story.
Okay, and
you listen to the show.
Wow, crazy, right?
And the guy who drove us out there, Daniel, was very nice, and we exchanged numbers, and we just called on him directly whenever we needed rides for the rest of the week, and he was great. He was, Daniel on the spot. He'd be there. Sure, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Whatever. Oh, you need a place to eat? Here's a list of 8 different places you can go. All that back
I have a
and
guy
forth.
like this in Vegas.
And that's what I told Fred. I like having people. I like having a network.
And I told you I've had that on vacation too. It's not uncommon on vacation. But Hardy likes to make friends with people.
I don't like it to end.
He hugged the guy.
Yeah,
at the
guys
end.
don't make friends at like an old age anymore. They need like their people.
And that's and
yes,
my
that
kids,
is true.
My kids were making fun of me, and they're like, "Oh, Daddy, you made a friend. Oh,
Yeah.
here's Daniel," and he would flash his brights when he
it's
came
cute.
up.
Like
Yeah.
once you turn 35 or 30, really, it's very difficult for men to make friends.
Yes,
like almost earlier than that. Like once you're out of like a school situation where you're forced together, it's very difficult to make friends. Like you're not just going to go out and make friends. So anyway, so Hardy hugs this guy.
We hug. He brings us gifts, and afterward,
he uses his hand on him.
It's mostly mouth stuff. And then I was actually thinking, my son made fun of me on Saturday. He said, "So have you texted Daniel yet?" I said, "No, ha ha ha," but I was actually considering it. Just thanks again one more time, whatever. Fred asked me if I would do it yesterday on the show, and I did. And I thought he'd get back to me within minutes. So did John. Fred was the only one who called it. He said, no, it's going to be a while, if ever. And it took like 2 hours for him to get back to me. So that led us down the road of being ghosted, ghosting people, and amounts of time where that takes place. Where what are the protocols? What are the pitfalls?
Right, because this is something that I've done. I've ghosted people and I've been ghosted, and it's very uncomfortable when the ghosting doesn't work, and it's very uncomfortable when you trying to end the ghosting doesn't work. It's uncomfortable on both ends. but obviously I've not experienced. I'm not a female, and I don't have. My circle is very small, so my experience getting ghosted or being I guess my experience ghosting people is a very small. We figured. Well, first of all. Adam goes contact Tyler Faith, but she's just not in town. I mean, she's an adult film star. She's running all over
She's
the
got
place.
stuff. Yeah.
I mean, she's back on Monday. Maybe she'll be in.
Okay.
But Kendra obviously has got a big online presence. Like a lot of people find her attractive, things of that nature. She's very like it's the whole texting thing. So we brought you in on as someone who probably has just been like, I'm going to ghost this person. Like it's over. And so the question is. Like, how long have people made it uncomfortable? Like, how do you handle being ghosted from someone who's ghosted people? You're giving advice.
This is how I know you guys have never dated. I mean, except for Fred, like in the internet era, you actually have to ghost people all the time. Like, just because of the sheer amount of people that you're going through constantly, it's inevitable to have to ghost somebody. But
I'm talking about someone that
I know.
you've like not necessarily been in a relationship with, but you've talked to
Years.
and met. So the length of time that someone's
Years.
continued without a response to you is years.
Years. One of them was even
Years.
texting me this weekend because he's Canadian, and he has been messaging me constantly for years without a reply. And this weekend sent me like 6 texts about the USA-Canada hockey game. Well, there was one Wednesday, one Thursday, one Friday, and then one again Sunday. And we did not, I mean, I told him I didn't want to speak anymore. I was done seeing him because I thought that he was insane. He like faked cancer to get like attention from me and stole money
What's wrong
from
with
one of
that?
my friends.
So what?
Called the cops to do like a wellness check on me because I told him I didn't want to talk to him anymore. Threatened to call my mom. Like all of this crazy stuff. And anytime our teams are playing
Give the
each
guy
other
a chance.
or anything like this, he will just send me all of these memes.
All right. Well, okay. So you talk to this guy in Canada, and then so he stole money from one of your friends. So he called a wellness check on you
because I told him I didn't want to speak to him anymore.
And so did the people come to your house to check on you?
The cops like came to my house and knocked on my door to see if I was okay.
Because I've had that done to me.
Yeah. Well, I know, but it was
reason.
Yeah, it was just because I didn't want to speak to him anymore.
Yeah, yours was not such a good reason.
Yeah.
Mine was a better reason. But I could understand why that happened. It didn't need to, but I understand why it did. So, okay. So if when you go someone, do you ever just completely like just end the conversation, or do you inform them you don't want to talk anymore?
Usually I would say 9 times out of 10, I will tell them that I don't want to speak to them anymore. But if it's one of those situations where it's so early, like this is our first time texting or anything like that, I don't feel like I owe them anything.
No, you don't. But like, let's say you know someone and you feel you haven't directly said, all right, we're not talking anymore, but you've just stopped responding to messages. Is there any tactic that someone's used with you that's ever worked to pique your interest again? Or once you've done that, is that just a concrete decision?
Usually it's just a concrete decision. When I'm done, I'm done.
Okay.
But there are ways to like make you hate a guy if you want to. Just go look at if you are dating a man and you want to get the ick really bad, just go look at who they follow on Instagram, because if they're like following a bunch of OnlyFans girls and stuff like that, just go look for their name under pictures. It'll give you the ick real quick.
Well, I was just telling Hardy that I saw a girl for a while, and then I saw this just actually happened today, and I saw who she followed, and I'm like, I am not her type at all. She likes very muscular men of a different ethnicity. I can see why this didn't work at all.
Usually it'll pop up.
A huge fan of this, and nothing wrong with it, but I am not what she likes.
Yeah.
She's into
Maybe
black bodybuilders.
Maybe she's branching out.
She's into black bodybuilders, and that is not I in any way, shape, or form.
Usually it'll pop up on your For You page. It'll be like some OnlyFans girl, because I follow fitness content and stuff like that. That'll pop up, and then you'll see like your man's name under it, and it's like, I wonder who else they're following.
Okay, so what does it feel like from when you tell someone, okay, it's like you stop responding to them, and then what's it feel like? This is more text than DMs, and because they got your number, it's intimate enough that they have your number, and then you see a text from them. Like, what is? Because now with the guy from Canada, it's probably just like I'm surprised you didn't block them, but it's just.
I
very-
have on the internet.
Right. Okay, but like when you see a text come up from the person, how does that make you feel?
Gross. Just I want to throw my phone across the room. Like, you sent the cops to my house.
Okay, but just say it's not the guy that sent the cops to your house. It's just the guy that you stopped. Like you didn't respond to a text, and then they text you like 2 days later. How does that make you feel?
I'll just keep ignoring them. It just makes me just listen. If I'm saying I don't want to talk to you anymore, that means that I took the time to think about it. I don't want to talk to you anymore.
What is the? How will sometimes they like plead their case?
Usually, it's just them telling you how great they think you are and how special and different you are from everybody else. I've had men call me crying or like send me videos of them crying.
Oh
like,
no!
Yeah.
Do you have them?
Oh boy.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Without context, I'd love to hear one. Seriously.
If I could probably find one rather quickly.
That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, but he's talking in it, so I don't want to like put his voice
No.
on
We'd have
blast.
to vet it. We'd have to like put it through a system and make him anonymous. I don't want you to play it off
all
your
these
phone.
long text messages from this person.
Wait,
Okay.
let me see.
Give it to
Takes
me.
up the whole phone.
That's nothing.
Give me the phone. Give me
God.
the phone. I won't go through it. Just I want to. I'll read it. I've been on the radio.
I
for a
will
long
show
time.
it to you during the break.
No. Let me see it now because I can say what I can read.
This is a lot of trust. Okay.
Oh man, Fred, why are you doing this to me?
Oh my God, Kendra.
All right.
That's nothing. He probably sent me at least 85 text messages unanswered in under an hour.
But I mean, they were all that long?
That's just the first one that I scrolled to. That was like an apology from him.
Jesus.
But I have
All right,
problems.
I'm going to leave a lot of this stuff out, but it goes into this like woe is me thing, and he goes, "You're the most amazing girl I've ever met, and you never deserved a sliver of this. I hope you're happy and have been able to find yourself. You're amazing and have a lot to smile about.
Hey.
I wish you nothing but happiness and success, and love you to the end of the world."
Wow.
From the bottom,
It was never that
And I'm
serious.
I'm skipping other stuff. I'm being pretty nice.
We
about
went
this.
on one date.
Then
How
why did
long
he say
ago?
he kept you up late and made you cry?
That was when he called the cops
Oh.
How long ago was the date?
and called me at least 100 times in under an hour and a half and sent me 85 text messages. Stop going through my phone, Fred.
I was just seeing if
This is an invasion of privacy.
Oh,
Yeah,
stop it. All right, here. Take the phone. I just scrolled to see what he said next. All right, very good. All right, you hang around. Phil Perry is going to come on with us. He is down at the Combine, and we will have that in just a moment. You want to know what I do? It's none of your effing business. Once upon a time, I had a dame, I had a way. Yeah, see, if you threw me off, I was going to let it get into him singing.
I wanted
Down
to
by law.
We want you to sing it. That's why we do the loop like this.
Why don't you two do this like on your own, like in a room after the show?
We could do that.
Yeah.
Let's get up space and just jam out.
There's our podcast. We get points for that. Absolutely.
All right. Here we go. Phil Perry, our friend from NBC Sports Boston, part of the Mr. Fred group that was very big overseas for a long time. He is at the Combine, and he's kind enough to join us. Hello, Phil.
Good morning, fellas. Yeah, they're still talking about us in Florence, Italy. So I appreciate you mentioning us stateside, so maybe we could grow our profile here.
I'm on the Reddit page right now. I can see what they're still gossiping about you guys. All right, so when did you get down to Indianapolis?
I got here last night.
Okay.
Play last night. Bunch of media people, bunch of Patriots people. It seems like everybody's in last 24 hours or so.
Now, the value of being at the Combine is not so much you watching the Combine, correct? It's what goes on after the Combine, like at night and stuff like that. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, it's the best networking opportunity we have all year in the league for those of us who cover a team or cover the entirety of the league, because everybody's here. Now, it's not exactly the same as it used to be in terms of everybody, quote unquote, being here. A lot of coaching staffs choose not to come, and this is something Sean McVay started a few years ago, and it seems like the Patriots have followed suit. I don't think there's going to be a big contingent of Patriots coaches here. In fact, I think the vast majority of them will stay in New England as they get their stuff together. It's a new staff, and so they've got a lot to do when it comes to logistics sort of behind the scenes, and they'll get their chance to interview prospects and get to know them a little bit better at pro days and workouts and top 30 visits and Zoom calls and things of that nature. So not going to be a lot of Patriots coaches here, but Mike Vrabel will be here. I think the special teams guys will be here. And yeah, it's not watching the players at all. Talking to the players is interesting, seeing how they handle the media. That's one thing that we'll be able to do this week. But for the most part, it's meeting new people, seeing people that you don't see really all year, except for here in Indianapolis, but you talk to maybe on the phone all year. That's really the value of being here in Indy.
Have you ever been shocked just like late at night how much someone was letting you know? Like they were very loose-lipped and they were saying things you were like, oh, Jesus. Like, I didn't expect this to happen.
Yeah. Yes. It's happened quite a bit because the bars are open pretty late, Fred, and people start to say some interesting things depending on how late you're out with them. Now, I don't find it's like a great policy to then all of a sudden turn around and turn that into a headline.
No, but it gives you insight that maybe you could use when you judge information going forward.
It'll get you to poke around in places you weren't poking around in.
No,
before.
you're not going to directly go like, hey, this guy told me when he was wasted at a bar. That would ruin all your sources. But when you can disseminate information you get through a different prism when you have found the truth from the guy's mouth.
Perfectly and eloquently put by you, Fred. Yes.
Two appearances
exactly
where you complimented me, which is going to get you much more. I'm going to have Rick give you a raise at some point.
Phil,
did we get glamour shots of you last week, by the way?
No, this Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday we'll get this Thursday. Okay, good.
Yeah, glamour shots by Deb. Have you also woken up the next morning and said to yourself, I can't believe what I divulged last night? I can't believe the secrets that I spilled that I was told in confidence?
No, that would never happen to me, Hardy. I'm a professional.
I can't believe I got up with Mr. Fred in that condition at St. Elmo's.
Took the stage at the Slippery Noodle at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
I mean, I don't even know what I said. I was ranting about the government. That's all I remember.
It is interesting, the people you'll see. Like, I remember a few years ago, this was, it wasn't one of my first combines, but I don't know, it was maybe third or fourth. And Richard Sherman at the time was one of the leaders of the NFLPA. And I remember being just at a bar, and Richard Sherman just plops down right next to me by himself at the bar, pissed off about how some players' union meeting had gone. And he and I sat there and spoke for hours. And he was great. And so, like, there are little weird interactions like that you sort of wake up the next day and be like, that was odd. I didn't see that happening last night, but it does. So that's what makes it such a great place.
All right. So, to what degree do minds get changed at this combine, do you think, Phil? I mean, you got a pretty good idea of who these players are and what they're going to be. I mean, how much does the needle or can the needle actually move based on what people see this week?
It can. I think it's really sort of a cross-checking exercise. It's just, one layer of an extensive, obviously, evaluation process. And so, you played that sound of me talking about Will Campbell, the offensive lineman from LSU, coming into the segment here. He has something to lose this week, quite frankly. And if he shows up and his arms don't measure at least 33 inches, he might see his spot in the draft fall. And that, you could say that's fair or unfair based on, the size of, essentially a thumbnail. Like if he's 32 3/4 as opposed to 33 even. But there are teams have thresholds. Teams have standards.
I keep reading. I keep reading about. I know. I keep reading about that quarter inch, the 33 to a 33 1/4 inch length for
matters apparently.
Yeah. How? Come on.
Well, I don't know about 33 to 33 1/4, but I do think if your first two numbers on your arm length are 32, then teams just get wary about playing you at tackle.
Yeah, it's a difference.
And it's guys that have been in the league a long time, and they've got certain things that they're looking for. And Bill Parcells very famously once said, if you start making exceptions on guys when it comes to things like arm length, I would add, then pretty soon you've got an entire team full of exceptions. So if he can get to 33, then I think that'll make teams, honestly, I think it'll make teams a lot more comfortable about keeping him at tackle, which would be big for him.
Well, I mean, it's like that in baseball, too. I mean, if you got two pitchers that throw 95 and one of them's a big horse of a guy and the other one's a little guy, you're much more concerned about the little guy's arm falling off. I mean, that's why Crochet, I thought, was such a good trade piece because he's
enormous.
He's enormous. And then you get Sale, whose mechanics are all weird and everything's screwing his arm up. All right, look, you were talking, we played audio of you talking about T. Higgins. You don't think, even if Cincinnati franchises him, that necessarily they're keeping him?
So, yeah, I can tell you that's how people in the league feel. I've spoken to people who say, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it, T. Higgins playing for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2025. Now, it does sound like, based on the reports, that they are set on using the franchise tag on him, and they are set on getting something for him prior to getting whatever comp pick that they would get for him and leaving via free agency. So that to me would, we're talking about the Patriots a lot here, obviously. To me, that would probably take the Patriots out of the T. Higgins sweepstakes if he gets tagged and traded. And so I don't necessarily think he's coming to New England either way. I just am not sure that he's not going to be available. And if he is, and you're the Patriots and you want to get creative, then that's on you. I mean, they've got more than enough money to spend to be able to make something like that happen. If they did want to trade, do they want to give up the draft capital that would be required?
Well, that's the question.
In a trade?
That's the question to you. You people want T. Higgins, and when money's the only factor, that's great. Are you willing to give up draft capital to get T. Higgins? Because
I don't think they will be.
Yeah,
I don't think they will be.
Yeah, right. Because go ahead.
No, I think they know that what the entire league sees right now, and this is just from talking to coaches, scouts over the course of the last week and a half, is that it's a really thin free agent class at receiver and offensive line, which for the Patriots obviously is terrible news. It's strong at linebacker, corner, and safety, which whoop-de-doo if you're New England. Like, those aren't massive needs for you. And so I think where we start to talk about whether it's T. Higgins or DK Metcalf and making a trade for him, or waiting for Devontae Adams to hit free agency and paying him big dollars for a couple of years to try to entice him to come to New England, I think they're going to have to get creative to find their number one receiver. Because unless somehow Travis Hunter falls to them at number 4, which is possible, and I view him as a number one receiver type of talent. I do. I don't think everyone does, but I do. I think a lot of people in the league see him as a number one corner who could play some receiver for you. I would encourage him to play receiver because I think he could be really, really good. If that doesn't happen, you're not getting a number one. You're just not. They're not in the draft, and they're not in free agency. And so you do have to start to move some pieces around and maybe be willing to do a hard thing and make a tough trade if you really feel like you need that piece. And I do. So I'm fascinated to see how they handle that position. There are people, guys, who are, last thing I would just say on Patriots receivers, again, over the course of the last week or so, just trying to get a feel for how the league looks at their roster. And I would say there are a lot of Pop Douglas fans out there. Yeah. And I think he's sort of, the shine has kind of come off on him over the course of last year here locally because he just didn't have a great year. But there are others who have studied and scouted the Patriots closely and said to me, they just did not use that guy correctly. He's one of their best players. And so, you know, maybe you have a piece there that people here in New England, when they look at that receiver room and they say, oh, you got to blow the entire thing up. Maybe they have a piece there in Pop Douglas that under a new offensive coordinator and Josh McDaniels will be able to be leveraged in a little bit different way.
If you are running the Patriots, Phil, how much draft capital are you willing to send out to bring in a number one receiver or a top flight tackle or something like that because the draft is so thin?
I would think about trading a second. I would. It depends on who it is.
Well, if you get Metcalf, is he still going to be any good when you're good? That's the question. Your second round pick would be. That's what you got to. Well, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Like if DK Metcalf, Phil, I'll just tell you what my thoughts are, and then you can tell me that I'm stupid. Is that I can see spending on the offensive line in the offseason because there's a real-time advantage to that. If nothing else, May doesn't fall into bad habits. He's not running for his life. He's not getting hurt. Like, there's a bunch of advantages to that. So I can justify that now, correct? If I start giving up capital to get a receiver, that's a nice thing to have, and maybe you win an extra game. But by the time any receiver that I'm going to be able to get is going to be older, or they're going to have a flaw or an injury history, right? You could agree with that. So why would I get someone who's going to be at their best right now and not still at their best in 3 years?
I would say because the product has been so bad, it's time to start trying to be good right now. It's been 5 years. They don't have a guy who can catch the football consistently for them or create an explosive play.
Right. No, I get that. Hey, it hurts Drake May, but it doesn't hurt him in the same way that not being protected does and not having time to.
Well, and that's true, Fred. You can't. I agree with you. If your priority is receiver, and you let offensive line fall by the wayside in the process, that's malpractice. But they should be able to do both. There's no reason you can't sign Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley is very close to free agency. I don't know if he's going to shake free from Baltimore, but I do know everybody looks at him and looks at the Patriots and looks at their needs and say, how could they not go after that guy and be aggressive and get him? And so if you get a Ronnie Stanley, like I'm over the well, it's going to be another 4 years before they're any good. Like they need to start getting aggressive. They have a young quarterback on a rookie contract. It's time to spend money. It's time to try. I'm not saying you're going to do this. You're not going to do this in all likelihood. 99% chance you're not going to be able to do what Washington did last year. But that's what you should be shooting for. You really should be.
But by spending money, I'm talking about giving up assets, future assets, to win now. That doesn't seem spending money. Spend all the money you want, but when you're talking about giving up second round picks,
draft capital,
when you're this needy at every position, that's where I would get nervous about doing that.
Phil, are you out on Chris Godwin?
Sorry, go ahead, Kendra.
Are you out on Chris Godwin? Is that a no for you? I know he has an injury history.
Yeah,
Tampa may not let him get free. Tampa's still trying to negotiate a contract.
Yeah, but his offensive coordinator's gone now.
That's what concerns teams about him is they look at him and they say, he is, in terms of his talent, I talked to an offensive coordinator the other day who said he would rather have him talent-wise, if he was healthy and on the field, would rather have him than T. Higgins. But the injury factor is such a significant factor with him. It's really hard to invest a big number in someone like that. Now, maybe the number's not massive. Maybe it's not prohibitive for somebody like him because the situation is that he's sort of, he's imperfect because of his health. So I wouldn't be I'm not out on really anybody at the right price. And I think that's sort of the approach the Patriots should take. Like even a tackle, Jedrick Wills is a guy who's been a disappointment in Cleveland. I know people question sort of his want to and his love of football. He was a top 10 pick. He's big. He's played left tackle. Vrabel was there with him in Cleveland last year. Like, you can't be investing, in my opinion, and in the opinion of people that I've spoken to, you can't be investing big dollars in somebody like that because he's a free agent this offseason, because that could go really, really wrong for you. But at the right price on a short-term deal, like, you can't afford to say no to potential helpful pieces if you're the Patriots. And on the second-round pick thing, Fred, I would just say if it's the right guy, and I don't know if DK Metcalf is the right guy, so I don't have a great name for you. But in terms of the approach, they need to get aggressive. They need to get creative. I'm really interested to see what Mike Vrabel says to us at 10:15 this morning about how he views this season going, because I don't think he can stand at the podium and say, hey, we've got a lot of work to do. We're going to ask our fan base to be patient. This is going to take a lot of time. That's probably the correct thing to say, but it's been a while since they've been good.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years of that already, whether implied or outright said, and it can't be said again. Even if that is where they're at, he can't say that.
The idea of another rebuild year where you're just going to eat it for 17 weeks because, well, shrug of the shoulders, look at us, sorry, feel bad for us, our roster stinks, you can't expect much from us. Like, that's not going to play.
You don't have to say
year.
it, but if you try to turn the roster over in 1 year, that's a fool's errand. You might pop up 1 year. The history of that is well documented. You go up 1 year, you have one bump year, and then it's like a dead cat bounce. You have that one up year, and then the whole thing falls apart again.
I've already seen it.
So I would be, and you already saw it here, so I'd be careful about that. Look, Phil, we could talk to you all day. We've already gone late with you. We'll let you get back to your networking and drinking and crack smoking and everything else. Phil Perry from NBC Sports Boston. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, boys. Talk to you soon.
All right, there you go, Phil. We will be right back. Here are the headlines.
Sports Hub headlines, presented by Celsius Energy Drinks.
Bruins will play Toronto.
is Boston Sports. Boston Sports. And it is all we do. 98.5, the Sports Hub.
Fred describes himself in 7 words.
A guy in tights and a cape.
And Hardy with blunt honesty.
I am not known as Mr. Fun.
Toucher and Hardy continues on the Sports Hub.
Puerto Rico, the details aren't important. Kendra, you had an idea off air.
I have a solution. I think that you should just give it 5-6 hours or so. Don't seem overly desperate, but then just follow up and be like, yeah, man, let me know if you're ever in Boston and we can link up.
That is, see, okay, now that's good. That's very, very good, because one of the things I said to him when we were partying and hugging, and, he gave us, these little gifts, little keepsakes, was I said, hey, if you ever come to Boston, I'll drive you around. Huh?
Wow.
You like that?
Okay. You could just say your offer's still on the table.
How about this, though? I like where you're going, Kendra. How about now you text him and you say, why don't you come up to Boston for a nice hang? I'll show you the town.
Would you let him stay with you?
I see. You pushed it right over the line.
Yeah,
that was good.
Why don't you
Because
come up to
you have to prepare yourself for that
For
outcome.
Hardy,
because-
you pushed it right over his comfortability line.
Because that's the thing, is that he's probably going to assume that is on the table.
How about
depending on how it's phrased, if you ever make it to Boston is not an invitation
No.
to come
You say
stay with me.
You say this to Daniel. You just go, why don't you come to Beantown for a boys' weekend?
The mofongo here, it can't touch the ones in Old San Juan, but I know a couple of spots.
Yeah, go invite him over right now. All right.
No, he's not going to stay with us, but I do like, hey, if you ever make it to Boston, be sure to let me know.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
that's perfect.
But that's like an empty. He's not making it to Boston. You know that. Just say like, hey, I'll fly up.
He's not Adolfo.
No, but I'm sure he'd take a flight to fly up to Boston. It would probably be nice. For
I'm
him.
not gonna buy him a flight to Boston.
Well, no, just as an empty gesture, but you just offer it.
No, because then he'll probably.
What if he takes me up on it?
Then you guys just go like, yeah, I'll find a flight, and then you goes Tim. That's how it works. All right, Kendra, did you have an opportunity to see? Because we were. So here's the thing: is that, Hardy sent this guy a kind of awkward message, and the guy didn't get back to him that quickly. So then we thought about being ghosted, getting ghosted, how comfortable it is when you're ghosting someone and they keep contacting you, and how comfortable it is being on the other end of it and getting ghosted and not being sure you're being ghosted. Kendra gave us an example of a guy for how many years now has been just you've not replied and he's just been getting back to you?
Probably like at least 2.
Okay, so like 2 years. So were you able to find any other
I have voice notes from him
but is there anyone else besides this? This guy obviously is not great.
There's a couple. I feel like they always come back. If you ghost them, they're going to keep coming back. I don't know what it is about men and what they're wanting things that they can't have, but anytime you ghost somebody, I feel like they always follow up about something at some point.
Did you hear? I saw this interview with Nikki Glazer, and she said that she's been with her boyfriend for 9 years, that she wants her this is kind of the opposite of this. She wants her boyfriend to sleep with other women because she likes having nice things, like a nice car and like jewelry, and she wants to know that her boyfriend could have attractive women.
What?
That was her theory, and I don't know if she means it. It's a serious interview, like she's not joking around. It's whatever guy does the weird interviews on the internet.
There's do you know how many men out there have a microphone? That does not help.
What do you mean?
Oh, they're trying to narrow down who did the
interview.
A guy who did an interview.
All right, I thought something else.
No, I'm saying it wasn't like a comedy thing. Like it wasn't a comedian. I know I wasn't narrowing it down so you could find it. Brent Bessinger or whatever the hell the guy's name is.
Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, like I don't even know who he is, but he's on YouTube and he comes into my algorithm.
He's a serious, legs cross guy, and it's like just
he's almost awkward,
very quiet.
Yeah.
I know
So
that
it
guy.
wasn't like she was being interviewed by like Theo Vaughn or something. Like this was
No, but I mean, out of nowhere, in a myriad of all these famous people that could interview this guy, there's this random guy online who you never see before,
so
and he
now
gets all these people. Yeah.
Now you understand that it was an apt description of him.
Yes,
Some
it
guy-
was.
Some serious guy on the internet.
Is he just an industry plant?
Kendra, I don't know anything about him, but he comes up in my algorithm. He comes up in John's algorithm. We're middle-aged white guys. Maybe this is what our thing is. But that was Nikki Glazer's thing. So maybe that's her thing, and men want what they can't have.
That's
Women want
insane.
something that wants someone who's attractive to other people. All right. So any advice, as we ask you finally, if someone just stops talking to you, is there how many messages can you send and not get one back until you know you're being ghosted?
I got ghosted by a kid abroad one time, and I'll leave you guys with this. I got a really good piece of advice. Sometimes when you travel, you just meet people abroad that you really care about, and you've got to let them be memories and just let that exist that way, because you're just going to keep chasing that carrot forever if you don't.
Okay, that's good advice. But in general, if you text someone and they don't get back to you, should you just leave it at that? Or should you, how many messages until you know you're being ghosted?
I would say 48 hours. If somebody can't respond to you within 24 hours, you weren't important enough. And it makes me feel like you were only important enough while your wallet was out, Hardy. No offense.
Well, no, he did. He did get back to you within 24 hours.
Yeah. Within a couple hours, my son was quick to point out the fact that, maybe you guys aren't really friends. Maybe he's being just this nice to you because every time you see him, you pay him.
And you might come back one day and pay him again.
What's the most desperate thing a guy has got done to get you back into his graces? Or attempted, it didn't work.
I would say probably calling the police.
I would say the police thing was
I would say probably the cops.
Is there anything that was like nice that someone did that
They stand outside your window with a boombox playing a Peter Gabriel
or like
song.
they were
I had
like
someone send me a steak one time via DoorDash.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a nice apology. If anybody ever wants to apologize with me a steak, I won't complain.
Has anyone ever given you a gift that you found to be awkward in its extravagance?
Yeah, over the top, like you
Yes.
walk in and there's 18
Too much.
bouquets
Yes.
of roses waiting
Yes.
for you.
Yes, because I've heard like friends of mine talk about stuff
Makes
like
you
that.
feel guilty.
Yeah, and it also is like kind of like, what are you expecting out of this thing?
Yeah.
Like why? Like what's the deal? Like we're not there. Why are you doing this?
Yes.
So okay, and that's happened
Yes, a lot.
a lot.
Yeah, from one person in particular, but I would prefer not to speak about it because they definitely listen to this show.
Well, I don't want you to do that either. All right. Well, Kendra, look, you've been a fountain of information. We
Thank you,
appreciate
boys.
it. It's been very good, and that is the.
I love the coquille. They're so cute.
But you don't like Costa Rica, so there you go.
Well, there's no coquille in Costa Rica. They're in Puerto Rico.
But there's cocaine, my dear. All right.
And we
Kendra.
all love that.
We're in love with the cocoa. All right, Kendra, thank you so much.
I put that brick in your face. Now what you going to do with it?
You know what's funny is you don't see that guy so much anymore, Stitches. How can people find you, Kendra, if they would like to send you gifts?
You can follow me on Instagram at Kendra Middleton everywhere, but Twitter at Kendra Middleton. It is Kenny with an I, Middleton on Twitter.
All right, get to work, young lady.
Goodbye.
There's things to burn yourself on. All right, we'll be back in just a moment.
but both will be back at work today in separate countries. The Bruins have the home game. They'll try to snap a 3-game losing streak when they face Toronto. Joe Sacco will get another look at a good NHL rivalry.
You know, anytime we play Toronto, sometimes you can throw out a lot of the X's and O's. It's more about the emotion of the game and the competitiveness and the sense of urgency.
The Bruins have 2 losses and an overtime win against this team this season. Ryan Johnston and Bob Beers have the pregame at 6:30 and the face-off at 7 here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Celtics will be in Toronto tonight in the opener of a road back-to-back. Drew Holiday and Luke Cornett are out. Al Horford is questionable. Grandy and Max have the pregame at 6:30 and the tip-off at 7 on 105.7 WROR. The annual NFL Scouting Combine is underway in Indianapolis. The Patriots coaching staff and front office are there. Head coach Mike Vrabel is expected to speak to the media at 10:15 this morning. Former Patriots assistant Alex Van Pelt has been hired by the LA Rams as their new senior offensive assistant. And the Red Sox and the Yankees were rained out yesterday in Fort Myers. The Sox preseason continues today in Northport, Florida against Atlanta. Jaron Duran, Trevor Story, Tristan Casas, and Ceddanne Rafaela are all in the starting lineup. Sports Hub headlines are brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, keeping drains flowing for homes and businesses in the greater Boston area since 1976. Go to johnsewer.com. I'm John Wallach on Boston's Home for Sports, 98.5 The Sports Hub. Your next update at 9:30.
Boston plays here.
Pressure, half court, it's in the air. He got it! He did it again!
98.5 The Sports Hub. Hey, if your alarm clock sounds like this is the show for you. Toucher and Hardy, The Sports Hub.
If not, it goes to Oklahoma City. Right now, Philadelphia has the 6th worst record in the NBA. So they got to lose. Now, Embiid came into the league hurt. They kind of knew, like, Embiid had to be managed, and he came into the league hurt. And now...
That's where trust the process came from.
Right.
Waiting for Embiid.
Right. And look, this isn't... Embiid gets way too much crap in Philadelphia. I heard a player talking about playing through injuries and how your body just won't respond and people don't get it. Like, I understand. I don't think Embiid handled it entirely the right way there, but having been to Philadelphia quite a few times during the NBA seasons of past and just hearing people talk, listening to the radio and reading the newspaper, like, even when he was doing well, they were horrible to him. So I don't really know what's going on in Philadelphia, but they're awful. Now, Embiid talked to Diana Rossini like a couple weeks ago and was talking basically, I'm going to get a knee surgery. And she reported that, but the team didn't say anything about it. And now it's, I guess the team is going to different doctors and they're finding out.
Originally, he said he was going to get knee surgery after this coming season. Now, within the last 3 days, after he played the Celtics, he had the All-Star break off. After he played the Celtics, the knee swelled up again. He can't get it right. He's wearing a knee brace when he plays. He's not moving well. So now he underwent an MRI yesterday, imaging yesterday, and the thought is, instead of having surgery after the season is over, because the Sixers are so bad this season, he might just have it done now.
Yeah, there's literally no reason to have Joel Embiid play this season.
No.
I mean, so you could sneak into the play-in tournament. You're not winning a title. I want that top 6 pick.
Yeah, I think they're 20 and 37.
Yeah, you invested in Paul George, who's a disaster. And Paul George is fascinating, too. There's a game he played like 36 minutes, had 2 points. Like, this team should be studied. There's one play. Tyrese Maxey
Anthropologists
cries.
should convene.
Exactly. Like, Tyrese Maxey seems like the world's best guy now because he's the star that's trying. Every other star can't be bothered. The NBA's in a bit of trouble here.
Right.
I keep saying it, but go ahead.
Real quick about Paul George. 4 years, $211 million. And he's got 2 years left on that deal after this one. He's already 34.
I heard a Philadelphia broadcaster going off on a rant about he watched him in that the game he had 2 points, and he's like, he was like breaking it down. Like, he's not like even feigning any kind of effort. Like he's like almost defiantly not trying.
By the way, I misspoke. There's a player option for the third year for $56 million, which if he plays like this, he's going to pick up. So it's really 3 years, not 2.
Yeah, the NBA's got to get some sort of control over the league, the back to the league, because players are it's an old. If you win, if you're a team that's winning, it's not this way. But if you're a team that's losing, you're paying a lot of money to guys that aren't trying. You can't say that about the Celtics. I mean, the Celtics, their stars play hard. Cleveland, they're good players, play hard. I mean, look at the Knicks certainly with Thibodeau play a lot.
They play hard. They get burned out. But they play very hard. Yes.
Like Cade Cunningham is finally a star in Detroit. Like there's the teams that, if I'm just looking at the Eastern Conference standings, those players try. But if you look at the bottom of the league, there's guys making a lot of money that just aren't trying,
and not trying to get on the court and not trying to do anything other than figure out how they're going to orchestrate their exit and go somewhere else, or just continue to get paid and not even worried about where they would play next.
And
if they're old enough, like Paul George, but Embiid isn't there. He's only 30. I mean, he's got years left.
He's real big, and those knee problems. I mean, again, the reason I brought it up, he came to the league hurt, is that they knew this was good. He had a short shelf life. Like, you knew that Embiid wasn't going to play forever. Like that who's the kid that played at Ohio State? The center that was taken ahead of Durant. Greg Oden. That Greg Oden who looked 55 when he was 18.
Had the knee problem.
A very wise face.
Yeah, it's just sometimes like
40.
But think about it. If you're, 7'2", 310 pounds, 300 pounds, whatever they're listed at isn't right. I mean, that's a lot of pressure to be running up and down a court and jumping and landing on your legs.
Zion Williamson, a perfect example.
Yeah, and also they say with the amount of basketball they play as kids now, they're screwing up their legs anyway. Like, it's not just baseball where kids are getting injured a lot. So anyway, they got to do it. And here's Stephen. You got the Stephen A. Smith?
I have Stephen A. Smith talking about Embiid, who's played.
He was with the Philadelphia Inquirer, of course. Yeah. Stephen A. Smith.
Yes, Embiid has played 19 games this season. He played 39 last year. So things are not looking good. What does Stephen A. Smith say?
Embiid looks like he can barely move. His health is awful. And I'm just saying, he's on the verge where you almost gotten to a point where if you Embiid, you're kind of wondering, should you consider retiring and taking the insurance money? Because that's how debilitated he looks. The Sixers are going nowhere.
Yeah, so he's hurt. And I don't know why there would even be debate about him getting the surgery now. And I don't think Embiid's career is going to be very fortuitous and long. I just think that it's asking too much a guy his size to overcome these kind of injuries. But my point is this. We talked yesterday about how the World Series had tripled the ratings of the NBA Finals. And baseball is not considered by anyone to be in great shape. But ESPN has spurned baseball, and that leaves them with football, pro football and college football, which is great. I mean, that's the two by far biggest sports. But now they've pivoted. I know they have hockey, but
technically they have hockey.
Yeah, they technically have hockey. But and by the way, if I'm a national brand, I'm not in the business of showing hockey highlights all day.
Four Nations final, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm not in the business of running hockey highlights 45 minutes to Sports Center. Like, that's not good business either. Yeah. And I love hockey, but I just know where it stands. It's more of a regional thing. My question is this, though. You talk about these stars, the Paul Georges of the world, these teams that have guys that aren't trying, players moving all over the league, players having control of the league, the quality of the basketball. I'll bring it back to, is it wise, if you were running ESPN, football and college football are no-brainers. And that will dominate 70%, 60%, 65% of your conversation. Is it wise to pivot to basketball as by far the main content for the rest of the year? Is there enough interest? Because I can tell you this, the pushing of women's college basketball post Caitlin Clark is obnoxious. And there's no way that people are enjoying that. Because at least with hockey, you have New York, you have Boston, you have Detroit, you have Chicago, you have markets. And again, we went over this yesterday. Women's college basketball, you got Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You got Knoxville, Tennessee. You got Storrs, Connecticut. These are not big towns with this stuff. And it's not college football, so get out of that. The amount of coverage that they're pivoting towards basketball It's NFL, some college football, and then the NBA and WNBA. If I was investing in ESPN right now, if I owned stock in the Disney Corporation, I'm selling. Because where the NBA is going and where the ratings are going, I think that's a very unwise decision. To just brush Major League Baseball off like that is a real ballsy move. Because I'll say this what you want about baseball. If the Yankees and Dodgers are good, which they will be because the structure of baseball sucks, you're going to get better ratings. And it's on every day. Like, there's something every day. Off-season NBA talk is a non-starter.
There's nothing to talk about. The only thing I would say about the baseball and being on every day, when do people really engage with it?
Well, the playoffs is when you're going to get ratings. I'm talking about as a network, I have 24 hours to fill. This isn't what games I want to run. This is I have to fill 24 hours.
And what are you gonna fill it with? Not just games, but what are you gonna talk about?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I have to make a decision, and you do as a network. Is the decision is this? I mean, we do it too. Just it's natural. You're gonna talk. The vast majority of your talk is gonna be NFL football, and that works. That's the league. The ratings prove it. But now you got to think, how else am I going to fill the time? We have to talk about sports. What sports are we going to fill the time with? I think the NBA is not a rising product. I think it's a very popular product. I think it's kind of gotten where it's going to go, and it's going to course correct a little bit down. I don't think it's going to become irrelevant, but I don't think it's ever going to be as popular maybe as it was 3 years ago. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I think that everything I've read in the last 24 hours say ESPN is pivoting. ESPN has made their mind up. They're charting a new course. This is what they're going towards. Maybe I'm reading too much stuff and everyone has to come up with a different opinion, but I began to read last night that this is ESPN playing cards with Major League Baseball, and that ultimately Major League Baseball will go shop their product around and find out that there really isn't another suitor that will give them the coverage they need, and they'll come crawling back to ESPN for a significantly lower price, and ESPN will say, okay, no problem.
Fair enough. But say that's fair. That maybe it's just business. But I will say this, is that if you watch the talking head shows, which I don't, but if you happen to see, they're talking about the NFL or the NBA or the WNBA.
Sure. No, I agree with you. The push for college basketball is over the top. Women's college basketball is over the top obnoxious. And all three of us have noticed this in the last 6 months.
Absolutely. And it's just like, even if you're flirting with the idea of just not having baseball content on your network, and I understand they don't have any money, like ESPN's not worth nearly as much with the current media landscape as it was. They have a big issue with it being like kind of like a concierge product that you have to pay more for when you're getting your cable bill. John and I were talking about cable bills and like what the hell's going on. But regardless, I know they don't have the money, so you have to focus on what you're going to concentrate about, and I understand that. So what I'm saying is, if you don't have enough money to cover all the sports, NFL, college football, no-brainer. What's the other sport you pick? And I would take baseball over basketball at this point. Because it gives me, and that's controversial, but if I had to pick two sports, and I got the marquee games, and it was what I was going to talk about, I would rather not to have to make the decision, but if I did, I would take baseball. There's more of it. You get better ratings when the good teams are in it by a lot, and I see NBA basketball is a declining product. I think baseball declined, and now it's leveled.
And baseball finally has the signature star that you could build programming around.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't have that for a while, and now they do have that. Mike Trout was their best player, and that guy is like this countertop. So you couldn't really generate anything to watch him play. You can generate something to watch Shohei Ohtani play. You can generate something to watch Aaron Judge play.
And they're screwing around with the game and making it faster and trying new stuff.
By all accounts, baseball is much easier to watch in the last 18 months, 2 years.
And look, and you could, I could be completely wrong, but I've thought about it. And if I was in charge of ESPN, if I was doing a stock report on professional sports, NFL's way out of my league. I can't even afford one share of that. The hockey is like a nice. You'll make it like a tidy 4% profit off it every year. But I had to choose between baseball and the NBA. Invest now and see where that money goes. I think baseball is where my money's the safest. Go ahead.
It was funny. I remember when Tom Brady was confirmed as a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. He wasn't the only Patriot that day. Richard Seymour is a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, but he's 0.5% or 1% and had to fork over like $20 million just to get that.
Well, that's like the Dolphins. The owner just was giving his owner stakes to Gloria Stefan and Jimmy Buffett so they come to the games.
Richard Seymour had to give up like $20 or $25 million to get less than 1% of the Raiders. It had to be confirmed as a minority.
But you know what? That's $20 million. That's going to appreciate. It's going to double every year.
I
so
know, but I'm just talking about the sheer number involved. That's crazy.
Yeah, the NFL is
my God.
The NFL is buying.
He's going to make
if you bought Apple 30 years ago, you bought a lot of it. You're gone. You're on an island
10
now.
years from now, he can get out for $50 million.
Yeah, you buy Apple now. You buy Apple now. It's not that kind of bump. But if there was a stock market of sports, I have the NBA going down, baseball slightly moving up, and hockey is hockey and football is football.
Yes.
If you're looking at getting casual fans involved, you've got Shohei Ohtani right now for baseball. You have a couple of other stars that you could attach yourselves to. With LeBron leaving at some point soon, Steph Curry leaving some point soon, who are the marquee guys that you're going to market the NBA to casual fans?
Tatum very well might end up being the best player in the NBA. But for whatever reason, he's not.
He doesn't translate. He doesn't translate or resonate the way those guys.
And
do.
it's not a knock on him, and I don't know why, but he doesn't transcend the game those other guys.
He's not flashy. He's not. He's not flashy. By the way, neither is Jokic, who is the best player on the planet.
And Anthony Edwards, for whatever reason,
Jokic is not going to bring in casual fans.
No, he's not.
And Anthony Edwards isn't like signature shoe. Everyone's got to have it.
Nope.
Edwards is kind of in a holding pattern at this point.
So I wonder if we'll ever see a star, not in talent, but we'll ever see a star to the level of LeBron James in the NBA again. And that's a fair point. It's not going to be Cooper Flagg. It
can't be someone who's 6'11", 7 feet. You need a guy.
Oh, it's not Wembanyama. Yeah.
No. It's not. Wembanyama may be the guy they put on every poster, but he's not that guy. You need a guy shaped like Michael Jordan, a guy who's 6'8", flies through the air, incredibly athletic. I thought Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to be that guy. But
is it even possible, given just where the NBA is now, that you would transcend the sport and become this mega brand, like a Jordan or a LeBron? Because baseball didn't have that. Christ, the NFL didn't really have that. I mean, LeBron and Jordan are these brands that transcend sport, and they're in entertainment and clothing and everything else. Vodkas and cigars and the NFL, Peyton Manning and Tom Brady are huge stars, but they weren't LeBron and Michael.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's going to happen again. Just, hey, you know what? A thought exercise.
Water cooler exercise. Water cooler talk. That's all it is.
You rib my jib all you want, but I'm just throwing ideas out there. I'm not saying I'm right, fellas. I'm just giving you something to snack on.
This is a little think tank, a little morning think tank.
Yeah. Why not?
I like it.
Not a sports debate so much as a sports. What do you know? Just I'm not giving you facts and figures. I'm just giving you a pin.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
This is sports chinwag.
Yeah, exactly. Just, more of a metaphysical conversation than anything concrete.
Something to keep your peepers peeled for later.
Thank you, John. That's very good. I like you went peepers instead of ears because that would be mean to you. All right, thank you. We'll be back in just a moment.
Stay tuned for more Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
All right, erectile dysfunction is a big problem.
You're on the pulse, Fred. Seldom right and never wrong.
Right here. Is that Toucher or is that Hardy?
Kinda looks like a poodle. It's an effing poodle, dumbass.
The Sports Hub.
You know, I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Hey, we are Toucher and Hardy. If you would like to email us, it's not hard, guys. You can just go to 98.5 The Sports Hub and get that information at .com. If you want to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, it's at Toucher and Hardy. And if you want to follow Hardy, it's at Hardy985. And if you want to follow me, which my daughter won't do, you go at Fred Toucher, and we build an empire together. We'll be what the boom guys were to 2024. We'll bring the boom in 2025.
What does this empire do once it's built?
Well, we bring the boom. That's what we do.
We bring the boom. That's what we do. We bring the boom. We bring the boom to you.
Every video of theirs is funnier than the last one.
Oh, we're so sorry to hear about your brother that passed away. He gets 5 big booms. Boom! 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 Boom!
They're shrewd. And get the kid involved in it, too, you know?
We're Costco guys. Of course we go shopping while eating a chicken bake.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny stuff.
I thought this was going to last a long time.
Yeah, you get the kid in the videos. Make him work for it. You know, I wanted to change the picture on the internet of us. Apparently during commercials, the same old picture runs, but whatever. This is all going to be rectified on Thursday. Again, someone thought I was a little person, which is I got enough going wrong for me. But finally, Hardy, I'm getting what I want. Sympathy. This is from Helen. Fred, you're way too hard on yourself. But watch where this email goes, and you'll see why I'm reading it.
Okay.
You are not terrible looking. You're a good-looking man who compares himself to others and shouldn't.
Right.
You've got so much going on for you. Your honesty, you're an excellent father, you have a wonderful, witty personality that far surpasses any faults you think you have. It's not, but then so you go, Helen, what a beautiful sentiment. And this is very nice of Helen to send to me, obviously. But she says, it's not always the physical anatomy. There's always the but. I've been around a long time and seen a lot, and at the end, it's who you are, not how you look. Just a little pep talk. So what Helen's saying is, look, you're ugly, but you got other things going for you. But I do appreciate it. I do appreciate it.
You know what, Helen? That was nice. For that, you get
boom, 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 boom.
That's 5 booms. 5 booms for you, Helen.
The one, and they say the most wonderful things about his daughter that he puts in all the in all the segments. It's really great.
Clarence emailed and he said, Fred, your dating advice for Hardy is impeccable. You're extremely adept at helping others pull in their same-sex dates. You need to start a dating service helping stereotypical Midwestern dads find male partners. What you do is a service to all friendless dads. Again, that's from Clarence.
Well, then I'd have to do myself first. I mean, I'm not sitting here with a posse by any stretch of the imagination.
You need to spend more time. Like, I know you go to the gym, but you need to engage in some games, not just your solo workouts. You know, take a class.
Oh, I'm not going to the gym that much either. Don't worry about that. But yeah,
go shoot some hoops.
Oh,
make
no.
some friends playing hoops.
No. I'm not being the old guy in the game. No siree, Bob.
You play with other old guys.
They played 5 in the morning at the JCC. Don't think I don't know about the games. And that JCC softball league, they keep stats. John knows about it.
Oh, my buddy Steve, who we went to the Lions game with, he's one of those guys, like, up at 4:30. Like, he gets up when we get up to go play basketball.
Yeah.
Like 3-4 days a week.
Those softball leagues are nuts.
Yeah, there's this whole you don't know about it, Hardy, because you're out there in Canton with the other wasps.
Oh.
But us Jewish
very
us Jewish people know what's going on. There's this league. It's like Newton Wellesley. There's this league it's predominantly Jewish, if not all Jewish. John's played in it.
All.
I've been invited to participate before because I was married to a Jewish lady. I get in on a technicality, and I'll tell you, very serious. Very serious. And stats kept. Am I lying, John?
Nope.
They keep stats.
We were emailed a spreadsheet weekly.
And you were and admonished if you were not performing well, correct?
Yes, I was dropped in the order because I had been 0 for 8 or so. Well, not 0 for 8, but you understand my point. I was hitting second for about a month, and then all of a sudden I showed up and I was hitting like 7th. I'm like,
yeah,
this is rec league softball. What are you doing?
My self-confidence can't handle any of that.
No, his answer to me was, I need better hitters at the top of the order.
Like, if you put me in left field and there was that amount of pressure on me, I'm not catching anything hit to me. I'm just completely flipping out. Like, there's too much pressure.
It's funny. I used to play left field. The center fielder was like, could run like the wind. So anything in the gap was his. He's like, can you help me out a little bit? I said, no.
Yeah.
Take
I got bursitis in my right arm, my right shoulder.
You're 20.
The gout can spring up at any time. Who
You're
knows?
27 years old. You get that.
Stats. Good grief.
Yep.
Jay says, hey, Freddie, I'm late to the show today. Did Daniel ever text Hardy back? Yeah, but Hardy won't text him back. Go ahead. What's yours?
Oh, no, that's completely accurate. He did text me about 2 hours after I texted him yesterday. It was a very nice exchange. Sam said, Fred, I'm disappointed in you. You're usually the first one to realize when something is not good radio or turning off the audience. That Daniel's story is one of the funniest things you guys have done, but holy bleeping bleep, I'd rather listen to backstage country ads on repeat than that frog one more time. You didn't like the coquille? What's wrong with the coquille?
Play the song. I like the song.
Oh, maybe he doesn't like the song.
No, well, then he's wrong. The song's fantastic.
Why would he not like this song? It's
puts you in a good mood immediately.
I want this to be the soundtrack they play during our photo shoot on Thursday.
I want this played at my funeral.
To get us in the mood. Come on, show me something, guys.
You guys are all going to wear Hawaiian shirts like they used to do back in the 80s with the morning zoo shows, and they'd take the show photo.
How about when they went around to every morning zoo and they made them do an ad with a real orangutan? Have you seen that?
No, was that a thing?
Yeah, Glenn Beck had a top 40 show, and they did, because all the commercials were the same.
Yeah.
Like if Clear Channel owned the station, every top 40 market would do the same thing. Like even the WRAF commercial with the lips that was very popular, Baby, they just had her do other stations. Yeah, there was this era, apparently, I don't recall it, but it's on YouTube in the 80s, mid-80s, early to mid-80s, where they would, in the commercial, bring in a actual orangutan or monkey. I don't know what the difference is. The bigger monkey, one of the bigger monkeys, and they would be goofing around about what a zoo it was, and and then it would pee on him or whatever. It was very Carson-esque. Yes, Jonathan.
I think Aaron has the wrong idea about you and Daniel, Hardy. It says Aaron says this segment is like a dating segment for Hardy. It's pure comedy. Poor Daniel just wanted money from this guy from the USA. I don't agree with that.
Well, first of all, Puerto Rico is part of the USA. How dare you?
True, but the other part of it is I think he's misrepresenting your relationship.
I think, right. He doesn't understand.
Hardy cares enough about Daniel that he won't text him again.
Well, right, and then Kenneth is on my side. He said, don't do it, Hardy. Fred's just egging you on because you had a good Uber experience, while his consists of farts and near fist fights.
Oh, that was no near fist fight. I can assure you of that.
Well, did you slam his door, and did he get out of the car afterward and challenge you?
He did not get out of the car and challenge me. No, he sat in his car at a very, very 20 feet away from me, yelling and screaming at me like a real tough guy. No, if he got out of the car, it would have been awesome. If he got out of the car, then it would have been very funny. No, he sat in the car and yelled at me and then drove up and down the street like an a-hole, like a pussy. He's sitting there yelling at me from his car. Get away from my car, he says. I'm 20 feet away from his car with 2 kids. Get out of here yelling at me. They farted. Yeah, they farted. He's a kid. They're kids. My kid, he does not fart. That was said in an argument. Yeah, but he doesn't. I guess he was born without an anus.
Or just a very low fiber diet in his home.
Yeah, well, I still think you would break wind at some point. But I'm not even sure it was my kids. It could have been him. And maybe he felt bad that I was calling him out. You know what I'm saying? That's my take on it. But it is true. I just want to ruin Hardy's life. There's no question about it. All right, thank you for all your emails. If we don't get back to you, it's because it's very, very hard to
As a rule, I don't write a reply to the ones we do on the air.
Oh, yeah. Because you figure you already did it. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back in just a moment on a very, very high note with our award-winning Around the World Stack segment. We'll have that for you. Here are the headlines.
Nailed it.
understand, but make sure you bring the Sports Hub app with you so you can hear more of Todger and Hardy
That's what I want on my tombstone.
on the Sports Hub. We know what you're thinking. What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Todger and
Don't be afraid to act dumb. Don't even trip, but when you do, it's fun. You save me. Sticky, icky, fun, be crazy. I don't want to be picky. All right, so this was the lead single off the album Fieldy's Dreams that was conceptualized, written, recorded, produced, engineered, and marketed by a major label. And it is in my. Let's be serious now. It came out,
Men in maybe not suits, but at least in shirts with buttons that they tucked into slacks, decided to give that person money for that.
Okay, so this is all fact. So I was working in Atlanta when it came out. It is the worst album ever, released by a major label and marketed heavily. And if you don't believe me, I had a box of them, and bands, I'd play it for bands, and then bands would ask for the CD. Who? Dave Grohl. Who? The dude from Cake. Who? It became a thing where they'd want the CD so they could play the CD for other people.
Like play it on the bus. Hey, guys.
So we did this segment where it was actually kind of cool, and it just showed you radio back then. Like, someone would come in, and they could play any two songs they wanted to play, and they would talk about why they wanted to play them. Sometimes they record it, sometimes they do it live. And Dave Grohl came in and did it live, and he wanted Outkast. I remember B.O.B., and I only had Rage Against the Machine. He's like, no, I want Outkast. So someone went out to the record store and bought it. Dave Grohl, I go, you got to hear this. Like, while one of his songs was playing, I'm like, you got to hear this. And I played him Fieldy's Dreams, and he goes, oh, Jesus Christ, can I have it? And I went, yes. And I handed it to him. And that wasn't even on the air. That was off the air. And I'm like, and I gave him the CD, and he took it. I gave away, let's say, 20 Fieldy's Dreams CDs to 20 at least major artists at the time. Wanted that. That's how bad it was. And he's an a-hole, a complete dick. I had to go, the unfortunate, to have to go backstage to interview Cord. Jonathan Davis is actually really nice, but like, he took me on a personal tour of his like spooky house of horrors that he took on the road with him.
Serial killers.
And he was really nice. It was it was really corny, but he's like super nice.
Corny.
It was corny. Yeah, right. No pun intended. But he was super nice. Fieldy's a huge dick. I had to go backstage. I didn't want to. I went into their dressing room, which was like all this stupid garbage, and he's getting his hair braided. And I'm talking to him, and this was so early in my career, I had questions like on a piece of paper, and he was being a dick. So Puffy from Faith No More, who was their drummer at the time, stole my questions. And then I'm like, okay, great. Like, I didn't want to talk to you guys anyway. And then they were like, and then they get defensive. Why don't you want to talk to me? Because I don't like your music and your dick. How about that? I said that to him.
It's a great way to promote your music.
You
by
can
the way,
ask anyone at that
have,
radio
like,
station.
Big radio station sends a personality down to interview you, and you F with them and don't end up getting the interview.
99% of the guys were cool, but if you were that big a dick to me, I would just be like, you're a dick. I'd be like, you're a dick. I'm not doing this anymore. And then and no one ever went, okay. No one ever went, fine, leave. No one. No. They all went, oh, what the hell, man? Like, Jesus Christ, you come in here talking. And I go, fine, then we won't do the effing interview. You're a dick. The same thing happened with Maynard, but in a different way. When Maynard James Keenan from Tool came out, and the record company guy goes, don't talk about this. Maynard's a huge dick. So he came out with Josh Freese, which at the time was also in A Perfect Circle. He was also in Guns N' Roses. So I just asked him questions about Guns N' Roses the whole time. And then Maynard goes, nothing from me. And I go, the guy told that your record rep told me you're a huge dick. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do about it. I don't want to sit here and talk to someone who's going to be an a-hole to me. Josh Free's a nice guy.
He did the same thing to me, but with Howard Ellen. He just don't come to the interview. If you don't want to talk, don't come to the interview.
Don't show up.
Yeah, just go and hang out.
Fieldy may be a little bit.
Like, I don't want to be there. Like, I don't want to be at the Corn Show any more than you do. Like, I'm not getting laid after this thing. Like, they're not paying me to be here, you prick. I don't.
You don't want to stay for Shoots and Ladders at least?
I don't even know
Ring
what that is.
around the rosy pockets.
I'm
full
not pulling that clip. I
I don't
the one
even know what
that's
that
just
is.
It's the nursery rhyme song that they just.
Knick knack patty whack, give the dog a bone.
That's a Korn song.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
It's
a Korn
like their
song
first,
yeah,
maybe their first quote unquote hit.
might have been the. It's on the first album. It might have been the first single. There was.
Anyway, Fieldy's timeline may be a bit off. He says he hasn't spoken to him in 2019. They actually did a show together in 2021.
Well, the
but he
band's-
forgot about that.
Yeah, well, what future will the band have without Fieldy in it? It's really going to be hard for them to conquer that. And the guitar player is like this hero that saved all these people, like kids from like child slavery.
Who,
like,
Monkey?
Like
I
he's-
interviewed him. He seems nice.
Yeah, like he's like a really like philanthropic guy who's done like real good work. There's like a documentary about him. It's so funny
Well,
that Fieldy was in that band.
Their new drummer is a guy named Ray Luzier, who came into BCN with Richard Patrick of Filter and Robert and Dean DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots.
Army of Anyone, right?
They had a band called Army of Anyone, right? And they did, like in our conference room, a performance for, I don't know, it was 30 people there. And they were smart about it. They did Filter Take a Picture. They did Stone Temple Pilots Interstate Love Song. They did a couple of Army of Anyone songs, and that was it. And it was one of the best performances I've ever seen. And Ray Luzier couldn't have been nicer. And he's, a great drummer. He's with Korn now. So there are nice guys in that band. Maybe that's why Fieldy isn't with them anymore.
And like I know I'm a dick, but I got along with the Beastie Boys, which is impossible. To the point where Ad Rock asked for me to interview him at the radio station, and I took if you were funny, I'd take your crap. Like I thought it was funny. I got along with Josh Homme from
Queens of the Stone Age. That's big.
At BCN.
Yeah, that's not easy.
Exchanged phone numbers.
Yeah.
And I don't even like Queens of the Stone Age that much, so it wasn't like I was kissing his ass.
And
I got
he
along
is
with
a dick.
And I got along with Fat Mike, Notorious Dick. I mean, there's guys that I could interview. Frank Black from the Pixies.
Ooh.
Got along with him really well. So there are guys I got along with. Not all my fault. Incubus may be my fault.
Yeah, well, you're drunk and flatulent.
But it was also
Bradley J was there to save the day, so don't worry about it.
But it was magical.